All right, everybody. So, yes, once again, a very good morning, everyone present out here. Greetings of the occasion, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to day 5 of Shanghai Cooperation Organization First Young Scientist Conclave 2020. Let's start with experts and the young scientists joint presentations on synergic thematic perceptions for shaping SEO STI partnership and roadmap for the next 10 years. The thematic presentations will be deliberated by experts from 5 thematic sessions followed by young scientists citing the SEO partnership possibilities. The networking can seed SEO member state collaboration for possible cross-border R&D mega projects for experts identified areas. Let's now begin with the first thematic session, agriculture and food processing. And here I may now welcome our experts to kindly join us, Dr. V.B. Patel and Dr. Renu Agarwal. So
Very
without a
good.
further ado, let's start with the presentation by Dr. Renu Agarwal. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, so can I share my slides?
Yes, ma'am, sure. Can you place it as a full screen?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. A very good morning to each one of you. And today the theme is shaping SCOSTI partnership. Under agriculture and food processing, myself and Dr. V.B. Patel, we have chaired the session. And today's presentation has been prepared by both of us. So on 25th in the session, first of all, I had spoken on the way ahead for food processing, where it was emphasized that food processing is to convert the raw materials by physical or chemical means, value addition and biofortification of food to help and combat malnutrition. Many technologies of food processing were discussed, and food parks with value addition facilities were given with the Codex Laboratory, backward and forward linkages, designer and functional foods to combat malnutrition, geotric production of food, and use of machinery innovation by many central institutes, and India being a country of great opportunity. Dr. Patel spoke on agriculture in India, status, challenges, and the way forward. He spoke on the status and the challenges of the growing population, climate change, transboundary migration, and the diseases, collaboration between the nations for higher production, profitability, sustainable, and equity and inclusivity. Among the participants, we had 9 presentations. The first one was Boyan Gao, where he discussed on the non-targeted strategies in assuring food safety, and he emphasized on mechanisms and toxic effects in food contamination, amino acid fingerprinting techniques, and non-targeting methods for rapid detection of adulteration. Kang Ming Tian from China spoke on the novel strategies to release oligosaccharides and peptides from fruits and vegetables using enzyme cocktail, where the candidate selected an enzyme and a cocktail for the production of oligosaccharides. And large-scale production of enzyme-mediated oligosaccharides, rich burdock syrup, was discussed. Debasis from India talked on novel nanocomposites for remediation of geogenic arsenic hazards in rice in relation to human health, where he emphasized his research carried out for the risk assessment of arsenic in the soil, synthesis of novel hybrid nanomaterials, and interaction with the soil microorganisms. Alice Kujur from India spoke on the application of integrative genomics and trait discovery strategies for crop improvements, and she put emphasis on the development of more efficient and cost-effective genomic for adaptation under drought. Sushil Kumar Sharma talked on the major plant virus pathogens of Northeast region of India, development of simplified diagnostic host virus interactions and management. He spoke on the development of diagnostics in chilies and bananas and disease management through targeted. Anna from Russia spoke on the development of novel, high-quality eco-products with functional ingredients from secondary raw materials of grain crops for the prevention of nutritional diseases. The candidate Anna emphasized on the wide transformation of grain polymeric from ultrasound and hydrolysis enzymes, use of functional ingredients from recycled cereals for affordable, nutritious, and high-quality organic products were discussed. Andrew from Russia talked on the development of a prototype of an information management system by a group of heterogeneous robotic tools for the purpose of comprehensive monitoring of agricultural land. He emphasized on the different analytical research on robotic devices, explained various models, interaction, and international cooperation was emphasized. Another candidate, Elena from Russia, talked on the organic farming by Equavega, where the emphasis was given on innovative agriculture technology farming like aquaponics and hydroponics. And the outline was on the main advantage of aquaponics and hydroponics. Mohammad Akil from Pakistan talked on the advanced bioinformatics analysis using bioconductor, where he emphasized on the optimization of software pipeline for the use in agricultural biotechnology. If we look to the way forward, especially under agriculture, Dr. Patel feels that some of the specific areas require a focus are germplasm exchange, introduction of new crops, genetic enhancement of agri-horticulture, shrinkage of water table, poor soil health, soil water pollutions have become very common in SCO nations, and therefore development and outscaling of soil nutrient management as well as organic product technologies is the need of the day. Many transboundary diseases and the pests are needed to be managed, and this management technology is very, very vital. Collaboration may also be helpful in harnessing new science and gene editing, bioinformatics, precision farming, application, bioenergy, biofuels in the area of agriculture. The roadmap ahead for product formation as a suggestion is a biofortified food product for better immunity and combating malnutrition. The work to be undertaken by all SCO countries and the networking each country should take in their specialized area. The product composition can be high yielding commodity of the crops which have been identified by Sushil and other participants, cereal and millet flakes for better nutrition, herbal extract from medicinal plants for better immunity, where India and China have many medicinal plants which can increase immunity, and identify and characterize these compounds, have antimicrobial and immunity assays to be done, prebiotics studies for high fiber and good bowel movement. I have seen two countries are working on prebiotics and nutritional studies. If we look into the evaluation of the product, of the biofortified product, optimization of various parameters is very important. Looking into the shelf life studies, sensory evaluation on hedonic scale by an approved panel is a must and deliverable for a product to combat malnutrition. If we look into the deliverables, it is very, very important that we get a product with extracts, herbal extracts, millets, cereals, prebiotics, enhanced immunity, and combating malnutrition with high fiber, adding prebiotics to that, increasing the shelf life of the product. And for this, it is very important that we have a linkage before the work starts with the food parks or the industry, so that the product can be worked out at a pilot plant, because most of the times it has been seen, if the work is only done at the bench scale, it does not go further to the pilot level. So it is important that the participants, they network in such a way with the industries that a proper linkage is made and they can study at the pilot level. The product can be in a powder form, in a chicky form, or a nutri-bars, or anything what they feel or they zero down on. So what is important is to have a backward linkage with the farmers, a forward linkage with the market, and advertisement on various social media platforms is very, very important at each stage of the work. Like, now we know what Pfizer is, how the Pfizer or Bharat Biotech is coming in the COVID vaccine level. Each day, we are having some sort of a importance that we know that these people are working a lot to improve the community for the vaccine. So like this, you should have the advertisements and presentations at different conferences, giving an impact to the society to reduce the malnutrition, enhance immunity, and have a better life for each one. So let us think, and a very big thank you to each one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Well, here we'll be moving forward. But yes, many, many thanks to ma'am for sharing such great knowledge with us. And now I request Dr. Debashish and Sushil Kumar Sharma to start the presentation, which we believe has been framed upon networking with our friends from the SEO member states. So yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Susil,
Yes,
shall I share?
yes. You have the updated
Yeah.
one, na?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Sir, kindly open your camera, sir.
some problem is there with camera. Let me check. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So, good morning, everyone. So, it was very nice presentation by Dr. Renu ma'am. So, everything actually she has compiled in a comprehensive manner. What kind of research we should take for next few years? What are the challenging aspects now actually we are facing as a whole fraternity of agriculturists? We are actually doing agriculture. So basically, this presentation is prepared by both of us, myself and Dr. Sushil Kumar Sharma. So few part actually I will give some highlights about what kind of research we should take in from the soil science perspective view, and the rest of the thing from plant protection and other thing. That thing will be covered by Dr. Sushil Kumar Sharma. So without wasting much time, so let me begin. So we are actually open in collaboration with other SCO member states like China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, India, as well as Pakistan. So in last few days, actually on 25th, whatever presentation was made by 9 delegates, 9 young scientists rather, whole the theme actually was concentrated and rather demands actually on these three broad topic: food processing and food safety, development of new varieties including plant protection measures, and finally natural resource management for sustainable agriculture. As Renu madam was also presenting that the sustainable agriculture including use of advanced tools and techniques like robotics in the field of agriculture to harness the barrier to rather to overcome the barrier, whatever barrier is actually present in uh, day-to-day activities in a different agriculture operation. So to overcome that agriculture operation, this development of these advanced tools and techniques like your robotics we should use. And we are actually open from the beginning. I am repeating this sentence repeatedly, that we are actually open for collaboration with other SCO member states. So this thing actually I want to highlight here. Other means academicians, scientists, researchers, all are present here. What actually we are facing the challenge nowadays actually. I am here actually presenting the one status starting from your 1961 up to 2013. Though it is 2013, but still we have a clear idea about what actually challenge in choosing the research area. This is actually nowadays actually we are lacking the innovative ideas. What kind of actually areas we should take. So here actually what I want to emphasize here that the basic and applied research is day by day is actually decreasing. That thing actually we should take up, basic and applied research. Okay, you see here from the soil science perspective view, only this fertility soil fertility research on soil fertility is means at par. But you see the research on chemistry, research on soil chemistry, this thing from the beginning also there is very less. So chemistry, core chemistry work should be carried out. What I am telling this in next slide, I will tell you what is the main problem and what is the roadmap. That thing actually we have to take care in next 5 or 10 years. That thing actually, that research we should take. So basic and applied research uh, we should focus along with the product, as Renu madam was also presenting that the product based research, because this thing actually we are demanding this product, what kind of product actually we are actually giving in terms of your fertilizer materials, or like nowadays you know this pusa decomposer, one product is actually in the market to combat this burning of your crop residues. This so product based research ministry is also demanding, PMO office is also demanding that what is your output in terms of your product. So product development we should focus along with this basic and applied research. So I am here actually opening and I am presenting the actual fact to all SCO member states that the research should be carried out, and the basic and strategic research, basic and strategic we should take up. So coming to this UN development goal, all we know that there are 17 UN development goals. So basically I am emphasizing here the goal number 15, where UN actually rightly pointed that the protection, restoration and promotion of sustainable use of your terrestrial ecosystem and sustainably manage forest, combat desertification and halt and reserve land degradation. This is, you just note down this thing, this reserve land degradation. So one and only problem in agriculture is your land degradation. So we have to restore our land for practicing our agricultural operation. So land degradation actually we are nowadays at present standing on this 28th November 2020, land degradation is a major challenge in all agricultural activities. So we have to restore our land, then only we can perform our agriculture. So first we have to store our land. So this area we should focus, and UN also emphasize that within 2030 for peaceful life actually they have pointed these 17 goals. So we have to maintain, because we are actually losing this thing. Land is day by day is degrading. Why this degradation? That thing I will discuss. And this is the area. Please, SCO member said you should focus. This problem is everywhere. This is land degradation problem. Okay. So these are actually avenues. Dr. Susil, you can talk, or
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
you talk.
So
Yeah,
thank you. You please operate the slides for me.
yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Devashish. Now, in addition to what he has presented, we will also discuss, like we have identified few focus area or avenues on which we can have a partnership among the SCO nations. First is on crop improvement through molecular breeding. So we can focus on breeding, molecular breeding approaches, including advanced techniques, genomics, genome assisted breeding on the focused crops of SCO nations. We can also venture to the use and application of nanotechnology, both in the field of agriculture and food processing. We can have collaborative efforts to hunt for the sources of resistance, as we have discussed earlier also, like we can hunt for the sources of resistance against major crops, pests, diseases, as well as against the abiotic stresses like climate change or climate disruption. Food biofortification is another area which Dr. Renu has discussed in detail. We can also venture into and we can have collaboration in that. Medicinal and aromatic plants and other potential crops, we call them as underutilized crops or also potential crops. Those crops can be focused on exploration, conservation, also for drug discovery. Omics is the one of the emerging area, including transcriptomics, metabolomics, and so on. So we can use omics tool, in to improve our agriculture and food production. Bioprospecting, nutraceuticals, and drug discovery is another area. We can also work in the area of precision agriculture through the use of robotics, artificial intelligence, and e-nose. In the area of plant protection, few institutes in India like IITs have ventured into development of e-nose technology so that they can be really help us to diagnose the diseases, pest complexes, as well as other abiotic stresses. And then finally, in the area of innovation in small farm mechanization. Next, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Susil.
Next.
So yeah, so thank you, Dr. Susil. So along with these other areas, actually, what I am proposing for collaboration, some hardcore research like your developing and refining soil test methodology, because to judge the fertility status, soil test methodology is very much important. So far, actually, whatever methodologies we have, that thing actually is working for last 50 or 60 years. So there is an urgent requirement of refining the soil test methodology. Here I want to give an example that DTPA soil test is not applicable for measurement of iron status in soil. So that thing actually we should take care. Then another area is risk assessment and remediation of metal and metal polluted soils. As yes, in my last presentation also, I actually showed that the metal pollution, Renu madam also presenting that the pollution is actually present in both SCO nations. So risk assessment is very much important to protect the human health, because we are actually consuming the day-to-day basis food materials. Whatever actually food materials actually is we are actually growing in soil, that soil may be polluted or contaminated. So we should know that food material is free for contaminants or not. So this area of research, risk assessment, is very much important. And obviously this is in collaboration with, in next slide I will show you, this collaboration should be with medical science. This collaboration should be come from medical science people. Risk assessment of metal polluted soil in relation to human health. So we should link agriculture activities, along with agriculture research should be linked with your medical science. Without medical science we are actually incomplete. So we should link this agricultural research with your medical science, with particular reference to, I am giving here an example, that metal and metal pollution in soil, that actually is coming in your human health. So we should know the status of your pollution in human body. Third one is your management of micronutrients. All you know that Renu madam also presenting that the biofortification, this biofortified crop is very much essential with special reference to your micronutrients. So this management of micronutrient in soil, plant, human continuum, these four continuum we should take care. SCO member state, we are actually open, we are actually working in this area, try to complete this continuum. You all know that there is a continuum with this, because there is a link with this soil to human health. All are actually coming in our body from soil through plant. All these things are actually coming from soil via plant to our body. So biofortification, if there is a question of biofortification, I am giving an example that biofortification with your iron biofortified crop. Okay, so this area actually we can work together. We are actually working here, so you can come here and we can collaborate. Then another area is enhancing nutrient use efficiency. As I was discussing that land degradation is a major problem nowadays. So nutrient, if we can increase the nutrient use efficiency by the use of your nanotechnology, like your product-based research. Here I have written that synthesis and evaluation of novel fertilizer products. Now, actually, we are working, SCO member state, you can collaborate with us that we are actually working with some nanomaterials, nano fertilizers, like your nano clay polymer composites reached with your zinc. For supplying your zinc fertilizer, we are actually developing new product for enhancing the nutrient use efficiency. So this is the another area of research where we can minimize our land degradation by increasing nutrient use efficiency. Another area is your soil organic matter. Here is also we are actually working in this area. Another one is your conservation agriculture, and apart from this conservation agriculture, nowadays ministry is also emphasizing this conservation agriculture along with your organic farming and precision farming. So what actually I am trying to emphasize here, that the collaborative research is very much required. Like here I am giving one example, that scientists from soil science, water science, plant physiology, agronomy, microbiology, medical science, environmental science, plant protection, agriculture engineering, genetics, plant breeding, and social science can collaborate. Okay, with the ultimate aim of our ultimate client is our farmers. We are actually practicing agriculture for farmers, for the benefit of our farmers. We are actually feeding our farmers. So ultimate client is our farmers. So for their benefit, we should collaborate. And SCO membership should take a strict note that collaborative research, not only with the inter-country, but along with inter-country, this collaboration should be done. Like I did one work. I am giving one example that, say, arsenic pollution is present in West Bengal. Okay, we did work with medical people to see the level of disease prevalence from how much amount of arsenic is present in their body coming through your rice grain. Then we are also actually working with your genetics and plant breeding people. They actually developed low arsenic accumulating varieties. So this type of research, genetics and plant breeding people will give you the variety, low arsenic accumulating variety, and medical science will see or judge the level of disease and what is the correlation, and soil scientist people will do the level of contaminants in soil. So this is an idea that this is integrated approach of research. So integrated research is very much, this is actually need of the hour. That's all. Yeah, Dr. Susil, now you proceed.
So, in addition to what Dr. Debashish has discussed, we will discuss a few avenues of collaboration where we can plan collaborative research in association with the partners from SCO Nation. First area which we have identified is on identification of the crops of national economic importance, which are important to or commonly important to the partners of SCO Nation. And then we can focus on targeted improvements in quality, pest and disease resistance, and climate resilience. The approaches here which we can share among the partners could be mass, it could be RNAi approach, or it could be CRISPR based use of CRISPR genetic scissors to develop the resistance or to mutate or knock out the traits which are of not interest. Finally, we can lead to a higher productivity and sharing of the improved varieties which through the national or countries guidelines. Another area where we can collaborate and we can make a framework is on development of diagnostic networks. So diagnostic networks for both pest and pathogens. As we know that with the advent of this COVID pandemic, we had really witnessed that the development of diagnostic networks is really very, very important. And similar is the case with the diseases and pests of economic importance in case of crops and agriculture crops and horticulture crops. So what we propose, like we can identify the pathogens of national importance. We can develop the specific antibodies or diagnostic kits for those pathogens or pests. And those diagnostic kits, once developed, can be validated at different conditions among the partner countries of SCO nation. And then in this way, we can have a collaborative network training as well as a use of those diagnostics among the SCO partner countries. This will help not only in quarantine, vigilance of your pathogens, their interception, but also in production of planting materials, on-site diagnostics, and field diagnostics. Next, please. Omics is another approach which has recently emerged in the area of agriculture and food technology. So recently a paper has been published in Nature in the year that is 2019 December, where a few countries has joined hand to complete the microbiome of citrus. Citrus is another important fruit crop of India, China, and other SCO nations. But none of our SCO, actually, many of our SCO countries has not been included in this partnership. So this is one of the example which I wanted to cite here. Can we also have a collaborative association to join our hands to understand or decipher the core microbiome of important crops? Maybe perennial one first we can start with. We can study their core microbiome, and those microbiome, if we find the association of those microbiota or microbiome in inducing the resistance against diseases or pests, or say biotic stresses, because it is a kind of systemic acquired or induced systemic resistance which lead to the resistance not only to biotic but also abiotic stresses. So microbiome has a role in all those conferring all those phenotypes. So can we join the hands to complete the core microbiota of major crops of common economic importance of SCO nations, and can we complete it in next 5 years through some collaborative program? That is another area. Next, please. Dr. Devashish, next. Similarly, in addition to what I have discussed, we can also join hand to decipher and elucidate the complete genomes of important crop species for which world has really not ventured into, but they are important to our region. Like one of the recent example is pigeon pea. Pigeon pea is an important pulse crop for India and Indian subcontinent. So India has through its collaborative efforts has completed the complete genome of pigeon pea, which has really revolutionized the crop improvement, genomics, and breeding of pigeon pea crop in this region. So similarly, can we also venture into the crop genomics as well as pathogenomics of important crops, fruits, vegetables, and important fungal, bacterial, viral pathogens, as well as important insect pests through the use of high throughput genome sequencing and NGS data analysis. It has been one of the partner from Pakistan has discussed that they have got very robust bioinformatics lab for big data analysis. So those labs can help us, the labs of such kind can help us in analysis of the data, its annotation, submission to the public database, and finally gap filling and so on. Next, please. We can also venture into new approaches in plant disease management. CRISPR is one, and we know this year's Nobel Prize in Chemistry has been given to the two scientists who has invented this CRISPR technology, which is considered as the most recent advent, which has revolutionized and expected to revolutionize the this molecular biology. So through RNA-seq approach, through knockout of the factors which are not actually required or which lead to the resistance or eliciting the infection cycle of the pathogens or pests, can we target them and we can develop important crops. One such example is recently we have ventured into through one of the major DBT program, we have ventured into development of seedless diploid Musa bulbiciana. That is diploid and it has seed. It is sweet, but because of seed, the preference, consumer preference is less. So now through CRISPR, India has ventured into a collaborative program where we are trying to mutate or knock out the genes which lead to the seed development. So thus leading to parthenocarpy in this particular crops. So in such ventures can also be planned, and we can have collaboration among the partners in such areas. Next, please. Next slide. The SCO nations are enriched with indigenous flora and fauna. So we can also have a collaborative programs on isolation, purification, and identification of bioactive compounds, and you identifying their health benefits as discussed by Dr. Renu Madam. And we can also see for the immunity boosters or the other properties of health interest or health benefit. And if identified, so we can share the extracts, crude extracts, or maybe the biocompounds which are actually responsible for these health benefits, and can those bioassay and clinical trials be undertaken at uh, collaborative efforts among SCO partners. Like suppose if we identified some health benefits of one of the important crop, and or say crop or plant, and those means those bioactive compounds can be shared among the partners of SCO, and they can undertake the clinical trials following countries regulation, maybe say in vivo clinical trials. And this will help us to identify the drugs or novel compounds, maybe making their nano formulations, and then we can also venture into the release of products. So next, please. These are the few areas which Dr. Devashish and me we have identified in consultation with others. So where we can really venture into through partnership. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so yes, very, very thank you for presenting a promising roadmap in the area of agriculture and food processing. We do believe that this model ideas is going to be originated in a multilateral forum, will take shape as R&D projects. Well, before we move further, I would now like to request our expert, Dr. V.B. Patel, to kindly present valuable remarks. Over to you, sir.
Dr. Patel? Dr. Patel can talk.
Yes. A very good morning to all of you. I think we have deliberated a lot about the future collaborations between the SCO nations and the area which we feel that where we can collaborate, and what Dr. Renu Agrawal presented and Devashish and Dr. Sushil jointly presented. Whatever the area come out, starting from the, if you are going for the exchange of the germplasm, then these SCO nations are having a rich diversity of the different crops, different varieties, different materials that can be used in future improvement program. So this is one of the area. Then we can have some joint collaboration for crop improvement, be it traditional improvement, be it using the molecular techniques. So it may be for biotic improvement, biotic stress related, developing some biotic stress tolerance variety, Then abiotic stress tolerant variety, particularly the drought one, then selective one. These are the two important traits that can be focused. Then another area that can be taken up, that is the biofortification, both through the agronomic biofortification as well as through the genetic biofortification. So these two areas can be taken up. Now coming to the improvement through the different omics approach, what Sushil elaborated very well, that we can use the genomics, we can use the CRISPR-Cas techniques, we can use other genomics, other omics approaches like proteomics, then our phenomics facility. We have very strong phenomics facility at IRI also. If we collaborate, we can do some work in the area of phenomics also. Then another area that can be further taken up in the natural resource management area, that I mean, in case of the soil studies, there are many studies need to be done, particularly in area of soil pollution. Like arsenic is one area, Devashish is focusing, then fluoride toxicity is another area. So these are the area, and we can also collaborate for the nutrient management aspect. Maybe it is soil, maybe it is a plant nutrient management aspect. So both can be covered. Then coming to the other omics approach, particularly this one, plant production and plant production in the protected environment, maybe through hydroponic approach, maybe through aeroponics approach, maybe we can go for vertical farming or even factory farming, because factory farming word it is now, it is coming in a large way in India, in China, in Russian Federation. So factory farming is new word, and factory farming combining all the things together using the artificial lighting, all these things we are doing in different SEO nations. So there could be possibility of strong collaboration in this emerging field. Then plant production is another area, many transboundary pests and diseases that are coming, and we need early and easy detection techniques. We need their management techniques. Sushil presented it very well, and he is also working in the similar kind of area. So this is another area where we can collaborate. And finally, the area which require more emphasis, that is the curbing the post-harvest losses, enhancing the value addition through the food processing aspect. So Madam Renu presented very well on the area where we can collaborate, where we can develop the product, where we can develop some technology to curb our post-harvest losses. Currently in SEO nation, if you look at the losses in, particularly in perishable crops, be it horticultural crops or some other perishable crops, you will find that the post-harvest losses range from 8% to somewhere 30%. So if you can curb the post-harvest losses through our collaboration to even to the extent of the 10%, that is a big ambition. So we can increase the productivity level to 10%. So these are the area where we can venture into through the collaboration to develop the technology for the SEO nations. So these are my views regarding the production, regarding the presentation made by our colleague. So thank you so much.
I would just like to add a few points. Like, it's only the representation by India today. Like the two young scientists and myself and Dr. Patel, we have talked on our minds of the roadmap ahead. But what I would really suggest is maybe the other country participants and their, the institutions, if they can also give a feedback, and then it will be a better idea to formulate a proper project, and we can go ahead with the things. So I think getting a feedback from other participants and their institutions is very vital before finalizing any proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, I would like to thank our chairs, Dr. Renu Agarwal and Dr. VB Patel, as well as everybody all together for taking our time from their busy schedules, do coming down and marking this spectacular gathering with the glory of their presence. Thank you so much. And here, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be moving forward with the next topic, that's sustainable energy and energy storage. And to present the report, may I now request Dr. B.K. Panigrahi to please take over the forum.
Hi, good morning to everyone. Is it audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, so very good morning to all of you and all the participants from the SEO countries, the organizers and others. So I'll present whatever we have discussed in this energy theme. Let me share the just slides. I hope the slides are visible. Okay. So this is about the theme of the energy storage. So myself, Professor B.K. Panigrahi, Department of Electrical Engineering, IIT Delhi. I thank all the participants in this particular theme as well as other themes attending this particular convocation very sincerely, seriously, and giving the feedback and suggestion how to go ahead, taking all the SEO countries together. So I'll talk about this thematical concept of the energy and storage, whatever we have discussed. So as already I have mentioned in the last session, we are talking of the integration of more and more renewable energy into the existing power production sector, into the existing energy sector. So when we are talking of that, the prime emphasis in the energy sector is the addition of new renewable energy sources and new storages into the existing grid. But so there are a lot of opportunity, lot of avenues in creating all these power production units. For example, the solar, wind, hydro, biomass. So when I'm talking of the solar, the research is multi-domain. We want some research in the solar material also. Two of the young scientists have already talked about different materials used for the efficient solar cell. Now we are dependent on other countries to import all these solar cells. And the efficiency of the whole solar system is dependent on the solar cell. So we may need some research in this particular area. So the second aspect which I want to just emphasize here, definitely we will go for addition of more and more renewable into this existing energy sector, so that we can earn some carbon credits, we can reduce the carbon emission from the thermal power plants. So ultimately the goal is to make the earth green, to make all the countries green, our especially the SEO countries green, and ultimately to make the grid green. So if I want a green and clean grid, so these are the challenges in which we have to focus. The first challenge is the flexibility of the services which can be obtained from this distributed generation. Again, I have to emphasize there are various areas in India and I hope in other countries also where the electricity, the grid has not reached. So emphasis should be given for the off-grid power generation from all these renewable sources like solar or biomass. So to make an autonomous grid. Similarly, when it is grid connected, our main emphasis should be the balancing, the self-sustainability, because self-sustainability is one of the important aspects in this energy sector. Then the research area in which we have to emphasize particularly a better grid stability and grid management looking into the energy domain. So we require some research on this demand side management. So while talking of the demand side management, the storage plays an important role. So all these storage, starting from the very small storage and the static storage, which is battery, which is having in my home, to the dynamic storage, which is in my vehicle. So how to integrate all these storage effectively into the grid to make the grid more flexible, more dynamic, and more user friendly. That means the prosumer driven approach, which I have already discussed about. So we have to make our grid smart. We have to make our grid self-healing. We have to make our grid autonomous. Plus, the most important thing, energy security is one of the important aspects. So while talking of this energy security, energy for all, I'm not talking of the cyber security, it is energy for all. Everybody should get the energy which they require. And of course, nowadays, the most important concept domain which plays an important role for the management of the infrastructure, all these critical infrastructure management to protect this infrastructure against bad operation, false operation, cyber attack, etc. The AIML application in energy and storage sector, which requires or which is helpful for the decision making, which is helpful for the management, which is helpful for the diagnostic purposes also. So all taking together, these are some flexible research area, and simultaneously, the most important thing is we have to look into the consumer. Till now, I have talked about the producers of this power and the operators like the grid operator, independent system operator. But the consumer, which require this power either in the form of heating load, cooling load, transport, or for common use, that must be taken care into account. So how we can, maybe some energy we can produce for the biomass only for cooling purpose or heating purpose in a particular area where the grid is not absent. So challenge one, integration of all these energy vector. Challenge two, the autonomous operation, taking the health of the grid, verifying that is voltage and frequency, large scale integration of the storage into the grid, and most important thing, the interconnection standard of all these renewable into the grid. The second aspect which has already emphasized in all the previous presentations are the development and self-sustainable integrated technology for waste to energy. How we can convert the wastes into the energy, maybe for a local use only, maybe at a lower level. So that is most important, because there are a lot of wastes which can be converted into energy. So these I have taken from few of the slides from one of my friends. So, and some work is already going on in IIT Delhi, in other IITs. So this is regarding the conversion of waste plastic into the clean fuel, where they have claimed that the 1 ton plastic waste can give up to 700 unit of 700 kg of fuel. Similarly, some of the young scientists, they have already presented various catalytic method and other methods for conversion of biomass or agro residue into the fuel and biochar. So this is one of the how this, because this is the major problem in northern India. So if you can convert this biomass or agro residue into the power conversion, maybe used in that local area, maybe used for pumping, for example, by the farmers, because mostly these agriculture waste are coming from the farmland. So if you can convert those energy and having certain storage, they may not utilize it, maybe utilized by somebody else. So that's why I may produce some power. If it is sufficient for me, I can send this power to the grid for the use by other. So we can make a self-sustainable off-grid by producing maybe small amount of power from all these wastes. So that is one of the important aspects. We have already discussed, many researchers have discussed about the photocatalytic conversion of CO2 and H2. The hydrogen economy is one of the most important aspects. Already they have talked about the ethanol. We have a ethanol mission, etc. Similarly, the divergent catalytic technology to utilize the agricultural waste to chemical and functional polymer. So CO2 capture, carbon economy, utilization and storage is one of the major area. So mostly some of the researchers from China, they have highlighted about the policy framework, and we agree this policy framework among the various stakeholders in a particular country, or among the bilateral or multilateral countries like SCO, etc. So this policy framework to promote this is very important. So we must have a policy framework for sustainable energy target, and we must emphasize, which Indian government is definitely emphasizing, the public-private partnership in every sector. So most importantly, this is of course the Indian point of view. We want a technology integration to make Atmanirbhar, Swachh and Unnat Bharat. So this is basically, we want some work to be done in this particular area. to make the country self-sustainable. So Atmanirbhar, Clean India, Swachh India, and Unnat, that is Developed India. These are the various missions. Mostly our Prime Minister likes all these missions, and we must do some work in that particular, of course, with the collaboration, with the help from the SCO countries. So finally, the other priority area just highlighting, and I'm going to conclude, energy saving, energy efficiency is one of the most important area, and simultaneously we can't neglect or discard all the old existing technology immediately. So at least we can do some modernization, some innovation, technological innovation for the existing generating facility and existing grid. We can't talk of self-healing grid power, a smart grid suddenly, but the existing grid can be brought to that particular level with some technological innovation, some modernization, energy policy, energy security, autonomous grid, and cyber security for the critical infrastructure like grid is one of the most important thing where we must give some priority. So these are some priorities just I have highlighted, and that is from my side. So thank you for attending this particular conclave. I thank all of you, and particularly the organizers giving us the opportunity to have our idea and share our idea among all the participants from the SEO countries. Thank you.
Well, yes, I would like to thank Sir for highlighting the importance of public-private partnership with Witness India and other ICO nations to stimulate the development of self-sustainable nations. Well, here, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be moving to the next presentation by the young scientist. And now, may I kindly request Saurabh Chandrakant to please take over the forum?
Yes, sure. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thanks. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for doing a fantastic job of bringing all the young scientists from the SEO nations, the senior scientists, the mentors for us.
Saurabh, may I request you to kindly present your presentation because we can't see onto the screen.
Yeah, I will do that. I'll share the screen. Okay. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes, make it as a full screen.
Yeah.
Perfect. Please, Doctor, go ahead.
Okay, so at the outset, I would like to thank the organizing committee for bringing us all together and giving a platform to share our ideas and connect with like-minded scientists uh, and talk about this important thematic areas like sustainable energy and energy storage for the betterment of humankind and the planet. So what I will be doing is I will be talking about giving an overview of what talks did happen in this session and what were the key takeaway areas from each of the talk, and then I will also discuss about what was the main focus areas in the thematic discussion after the session, after the talks on sustainable energy and energy storage session were concluded. And then of course I will talk about the possible collaboration areas in future for the SEO member states. So the conclave in this thematic area included almost 8 talks, and I would begin with Ms. Vivi Hu's talk, which she stressed on the role of government and industry in regional and international scientific and technological cooperation platforms for solar energy and bioenergy promotion. So her focus was more on reaching like taking the technology to the masses, of course from the lab scale to the commercial, and then taking it to the masses. So she talked about the policy framework required to do this, and interventions required at different levels of government, industry, and the scientific community to help promote these new technologies into the like the mainstream. The second talk by Dr. Lee Hay, he discussed his ideas on harnessing solar energy to produce chemicals and fuels. He also talked about the importance of photothermal reverse water gas shift reaction catalysis in utilization of plastic waste. So that was one important kind of area where like everyone concurred that something has to be done with the CO2, and utilizing CO2 will ensure that the current operations of energy generation are environmentally friendly and sustainable, as well as it will pave way for the future new emerging sources of energy to be much cleaner and leaner. The third talk by Dr. Heping Lee, he discussed on the application of metasurfaces to ambient electromagnetic energy collection and backscatter communication. He presented his views on new generation Internet of Things with high spectral efficiency, low energy consumption, and low maintenance costs. So the usage of this energy, once we generate from new renewable sources and bring it to the mainstream, the usage of it has to be optimized as well. So the energy optimization has to occur at all three levels: the generation stage, like exploring the new feedstocks, then generating it, and then taking it to the masses, and then utilizing it for betterment of humankind. So these are the three areas: generation, distribution, and then utilization. So this session on sustainable energy and energy storage included talks which covered all these three domains. The fourth talk by Dr. Shravanti Joshi was about the nano-engineered lead-free inorganic halide perovskites as effective photochemical catalyst. Now, this perovskites area has been emerging around the world, and definitely it found a place in our SCO conclave as well. That is, this area on perovskites is uh, like getting into the mainstream with physicists working around it, chemical engineers, chemists, all focusing on utility of these materials for several applications. And Dr. Shravanti presented her application on the photochemical catalyst, the use of this material as photochemical catalyst. I also spoke in this conclave on strategies to convert agricultural waste into chemicals and functional materials. And I talked about the need of divergent technologies to make high value streams of chemicals and functional materials, polymers, along with the energy to make the overall scenario of bioenergy economical and relevant in terms of, or instead of relevant, I would say competitive with the current forms of energy. Then Dr. Mr. Jada Shankar, he talked about synthesis and characterization of rare earth and transition metal doped perovskites, and his studies on optical, photocatalytic, and photoluminescence properties of these materials. He also talked about making multi-ferroic devices out of these rare transition metal doped perovskites. Then Dr. Alexander from Russia, he discussed about the use of nitrous oxide as a greener oxidant by forming adducts of nitrous oxide with carbines. So typically he stressed on how this nitrous oxide can be a better oxidant than the currently used halide based oxidants, and how it can be much cleaner, and the oxidation reaction as such is very important in making that in the downstream operations of refineries as well, like when petrochemicals are found. And so in the overall picture of sustainability, each component of it has to be tuned to the maximum efficiency. And so this use of nitrous oxide as a greener oxidant is one such area, which is very new, and which was like not discussed earlier. Like at least I had not heard of this any time before. Then Dr. Ilya from Russia, again, he talked about the storage of methane and hydrogen in adsorb state as an effective alternative to high pressure compression and or liquefaction at cryogenic temperature. So it's talked about how energy efficient that is, and how easy it is compared to these, and how safer it is compared to these uh, like technologies which are being currently used of cryogenic liquefaction and high pressure compression. After these talks, the thematic panel discussion on sustainable energy, which was nicely conducted by Dr. Deepak Pinzari. We discussed wide-ranging topics in that session, which went on for 90 minutes. And we discussed about the importance of alternative energy sources overall and the state of the art in renewable energy currently. That discussion was mainly focused on how biomass and why biomass is not mainstream yet, why solar is not mainstream yet, and what efforts need to be done at the three levels of development, in the research stage and in the technology transfer stage and in the utilization stage, to make it more like to bring it into mainstream. And then we discussed about the impediments in the cost effective biomass valorization, and also discuss the collaborative efforts which are necessary in developing the science behind using biomass as a resource. So currently we are using the older systems which were designed for liquid like reactants and liquid gas phase reactants. The reactor systems and the mathematical framework which we have is available for those kind of like systems. But if we want to develop uh, the biomass based energy and chemicals domain, we really have to start looking into the fundamental research on developing a mathematical framework for the solid systems, developing new reactor systems as such. And so we discussed about those impediments as well. uh, we also discussed about what can be done with the lignin, and what are the ongoing efforts around the world in a briefly during that session. Then our discussion migrated to the solar energy, and Dr. Panigri had talked about the cost of solar panels in the initial stage of development and how the cost has been coming down with the research happening. And then now with the usage of solar energy, Dr. Vivi Lu, she discussed about the virtual power plant with network of solar panels and battery systems working as like separate power plants or single power plants, and the importance of it in solar water pumping systems, which are very critical for irrigation in dry areas where the rainfall is uh, like not the rainfall is not predictable. In such areas, the irrigation system, how it can be driven by the solar energy, she gave an excellent example on that. We also discussed about Dr. Pinzeri started a discussion on the pyrolysis technology, mainly for the utilization of plastic waste or mixed plastic waste, uh, because all the SCO nations, mainly where the population is uh, like the population in SCO nations, they have increasing aspiration levels, and to suffice those, the mainly used component is plastics, which is cheaper and durable. And so it leads to the issue of plastic waste management, which is critical in countries like India and China. And we discussed about the pyrolysis technology to yield pyrolysis oil, which can be used as a furnace oil, and how to increase the yields of pyrolysis oil while minimizing the uh, formation of char and formation of wax in those processes. We discussed about uh, cost effectively developing new catalysts or bimetallic catalytic systems to increase the pyrolysis oil yields. And while discussing that, we also discussed about the alternative technology, which is the gasification technology or the incineration technology lately developed. So in those technologies where CO2 is emitted, we discussed about the possibility of making CO2 to chemicals, which appears to be a missing link in this utilization of plastic waste. That of course we can use the pyrolysis oil, but ultimately burning the pyrolysis oil again releases CO2, and so the main focus has to be on utilizing CO2 either through use of turbines and direct electricity generation, or through making chemicals from CO2. So thereby, like if we start making chemicals from CO2, then we might be able to use more of petroleum which is going into those chemicals for the energy, and thereby increase the overall sustainability of the current usage systems. We also talked about the hydrogen as a fuel. We talked about the chemical, the carbon efficiencies versus the thermal efficiencies, and discussed how hydrogen is the best possible fuel which does not emit any carbon oxides. And so we discussed about the safety issues with respect to the usage of hydrogen as a fuel, and the work which needs to be done in those areas for making hydrogen as a mainstream fuel for mobility. And then finally, we discussed about the policy framework necessary for the like adoption of renewable energy. We discussed about setting stringent targets for the industry by the from the government end, and then industry contributing towards the research and funding that research, and taking it from the like TRL level 1, 2, 3 to TRL level 7 and 8. So we discussed about how the policy can like force this industry, compel this industry to carry out this research and take it to its logical end. So this panel discussion was very interesting. It uh, as it was on the following day from the sessions, uh, all were able to contribute like after listening to each everyone's talk and thinking over it, and so the discussion was very meaningful and very fruitful. From these two sessions, we were able to kind of come up with five areas which are critical for SCO member states, and the collaboration in these areas will further kind of like ensure that all these nations develop some technologies which can be brought into the market. So all these five areas include the CO2 capture, utilization, storage, transportation, and
Dr. Saurav, are you available?
Uh, Perhaps it is disconnected. He has disconnected. I don't know.
yeah. So where did I lose? I mean, I did not realize that I have lost the connection actually. So was I on the slide number 3, right? When I lost the connection?
Yes, yes. This slide.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so these are the five areas which we came up with for the future possible collaborations, which will be beneficial for all the member states. First area is in the CO2 capture, utilization, and storage, which is a critical area because it's not only the usage of CO2, but it's going to benefit the other allied sectors like the thermal power energy generation. It is also going to help the reduce the the carbon footprint overall on the planet. Second area is on the policy framework where sustainable energy has to be brought into the mainstream, and how the public private partnerships can enable those transitions. The third area is in the nano engineered perovskites, which is a smart material As Professor Panigrahi also said, it has applications ranging from catalyst to solar panels, and so research on that area is going to benefit everyone. The fourth one is the developing technologies for using agricultural waste as fuels, as chemicals, and um, as polymeric materials, because this resource is one which contains all carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. And so we can make almost many things if the fundamental framework around it is developed critically. And then the fifth area is on the adsorbents with better adsorption capacity, cyclic stability, and mechanical strength for gas storage, because many of the SCO nations are rich in the gas reserves, and so transport of that gas and efficient utilization of that gas is very critical as well. So these were the five areas which we were able to conquer on for future possible collaborations. I would also like to say that the 5 days time was very interesting, with the talks happening continuously throughout the entire day. And the, even if we enjoyed the conference, the networking over the virtual mode was a little difficult, especially with respect to different time zones of the young scientists joining from different nations. So I would make one suggestion, that if we can have time allotted for one-on-one meetings to be arranged, and then come up with coherent proposals after, say, a period of 1 month, and if we organize one-day session to specifically discuss the joint research proposals, that would be a wonderful thing, because now we have known each other, we have identified the areas, and so if we get some time to discuss about these areas and come up with joint proposals and present it together, that will be more beneficial towards having superior ties between the SCO member states. So thank you, everyone.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much for presenting a promising roadmap in the thematic area of sustainable energy and energy storage. Well, yes, you have explained it in a very better way for possible areas of collaboration, such as CO2 utilization, solar energy development, distribution to the masses, photocatalyst, to name few. Thank you, sir. And now I would like to request our expert, Dr. B.K. Panigrahi, to kindly present his remarks on it.
So, thank you, Dr. Saurabh, for the nice presentation. So, as a concluding remark, I can just conclude in the sense we have to look into the various domain of the energy vectors, particularly which are of importance to the SCO country. It may be solar, wind, biomass, waste to energy. So those are the various energy vectors we must look into. Then we must look into particularly the energy policy, the energy security, and energy to everyone, each one in this planet, particularly the SCO country. That is the most important thing I want to highlight. We have to give the clean energy to everyone, each one on this planet. And for that, it may be a local generation, it may be a large generation. We must concern about sufficiently generating the energy from the waste and utilizing it. So these are the various research domain, the energy security, energy policy, and of course, nowadays, whatever the energy infrastructure we have in all the countries, because now the energy is not having any boundary. Our grid also interconnected with the neighboring country. For example, the Indian grid is interconnected with a few of the neighboring countries on the eastern side. So that's why one grid, one nation, that is fine, but we can also connected our grids with the neighboring countries so that the power we can exchange among ourselves. That is another aspect which I must want to emphasize. Wherever the grid is not able to reach, I am sure in many parts of the country like India and other countries, there may be some parts where the energy or the grid network has not reached. So can you make those people to get the energy from the local power production? So that is one of the important aspects which we must look into. So I thank all the dignitaries, all the participants in various domains, and some of the domain are interconnected. Now you see the agriculture and energy I can interconnect, because the agricultural waste can be used for the energy production. So that's why all the themes are also interconnected in nature. And the most important thing nowadays, as we are looking into the AI and ML technique particularly, so we must have one vertical about the, because I have a talk in the afternoon in the renewable energy sector, that is AI and for the energy. So that is one of the aspect which we must look into for better management and other things. So at last, I thank Dr. Bharsne, Dr. Arvind from the DST side, and all their team from the DST, and Dr. Mohan and all the team from the organizing institute, and in particular Dr. Rajendra Prasad and Dr. Mendrita, who have taken the lead to make it successful. So thank you all, and particularly the young lady who was here to present everything and making everybody to be attentive. And thanks to all, I don't know, we have received many calls at many of the times to make us more attentive and to attend all the sessions without any fail. So my heartfelt congratulations and salute to all the organizers of the ICT. Thank you all, and let us join together, irrespective of the theme boundary. What are the 5 themes? I don't know. There is no boundary in the research. There is no boundary in the innovation. So when we want to make something and we want to make us proud, today's research is interdisciplinary research. We have to put an interdisciplinary research by joining with others and make everything possible. Nothing is impossible in this world, in the technology, in the innovation, in any of the sector, and I hope we can do it. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. And yes, of course, a very, very much thankful session for our chair, for Dr. B.K. Panigrahi, for being such an active participant of this session. I do believe your insights will trigger new projects and students exchange programs across the co-nations. And thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With this, we're going to be moving ahead. And I may now request Dr. Dmitry Kulikov to start presenting on the identified areas for future possible collaboration in the field of biotechnology and bioengineering. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Can
Yes,
I
sir, you're
share my
audible.
screen?
You are audible.
Is it okay?
No, it's not actually. Can you show your presentation onto the screen, because we can't see that. You have to share your screen, presentation screen.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
What about now?
Yeah, perfect. Please go ahead.
So, colleagues, at first, let me present the main topics, the main presentations we have in our sessions about biotechnology and bioengineering. So it was a great honor for me to start our session, and in my presentation I tell about prospects and challenges for biotechnology and bioengineering, view from Russia, and I illustrated my presentation with the instruments, financial but institutional, which can support our research, including our international collaboration. I mean, funds, organization, and so on. Honorable Dr. Venkata Mohan, in his presentation, spoke about bio-based economy, which can help us in fulfilling the SDH goals. And he emphasized on the cradle-to-cradle concept or cradle-to-grave concept. So he also said that SCO members and their steps towards circular bioeconomy, which were discussed along with the way by which we can achieve these goals. So Dr. Kumar Arumugam spoke about startup opportunities, which should be immediately incorporated to resolve the challenges like delayed investment in biotech projects. And in his presentation was very interesting part about how Indian government supports R&D projects. And he said that GDP, which should be further increased from 0.8% to 2% for fruit results. So after these lead talks, we dealt with young scientist presentation. The first one was from China, Suzhou University by Chao Wong. He delivered a talk on biomaterials-based drugs delivery platform for immunotherapy for cancer, infectious diseases, autoimmune disorders, and age-related disease. After that, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi from India delivered a talk on platelet-rich or pool plasma separation from human blood, micro devices integrated with an output reader with which thrombin and prothrombin can be analyzed. It can also be a further carrier to cell capture and counting myocardial technology. So then Dr. Shehazis Bhata from India also delivered a talk on polymer-coated nanomaterials for antibody purification. She entitles The Importance of Antibodies and its Purification. Commercial materials which can be used for antibody isolation were discussed as well. He explained the functional properties of the coated nanomaterials for its selective binding properties with the particular binding sites. So after the lunch break, we have a pleasure to listen Dr. Ramesh Chatragada from Goa, India. He delivered a talk on chemistry and genomics of luciferins, fluorescent proteins, and pigments from deep sea resources for toxicological and anti-cancer application. So deep sea organisms can be utilized for drug deliveries, and bioluminescence organisms can be utilized for biosensing markers. After that, we have a talk from Russia by Ovchinnikova Leila from Institute of Bioorganic Chemistry. She delivered a talk on targeting genetically encoded extracellular vesicles for protein delivery into macrophages and dendritic cells. Extracellular vesicles are small vesicles released by leaf cells that can be loaded with proteins to facilitate their uptake by target cells. Another talk from Russia by Natalia Semyonova. She delivered a talk on development of accelerated technology for growing planting materials of blue honeysuckle. She discussed about the LED irradiators with an adjustable spectrum for face-by-face control of the physiological state of an plant. The germination of the blue honeysuckle seeds are very low, therefore new technologies could be useful for the propagation of the blue honeysuckle. Another talk from Russia by Banza Rastsaeva Sardana. She delivered a complete cycle of ethylene production from biomass. She focused on the ethylene production from outhulls. Her approach was to integrate biotechnology and catalytic technology for implementing a complete cycle of production of organic chemicals from renewable bioresources. And the last presentation in our session was made by Mohammed Zishan from Pakistan. He delivered a talk on banana bunchy top virus, control in Pakistan through tissue cultural technology, micropropagated micropropagated banana platelets for the absence of virus before releasing it to the farmers were aimed. He also aimed to eradicate Panama disease caused by the fungi Fusarium oxysporium. And in the end of our session, we have a thematic networking and group discussion on future perceptions. Mr. Aman Agarwal was the moderator of the networking and group discussions. So he congratulated the participants for parting and gaining knowledge in the conclave. Further important discussions and queries were carried on, and sound collaboration from multiple funding bodies were emphasized to improve the quality of the research among the SCO countries. And in the end of my speech, I just want to illustrate the idea that biotechnology and bioengineering are very big research areas. And here you can see the possible directions which could be in which biotechnology and bioengineering could be developing in the next 10 years. And after the discussion we had on our session, I'm sure that now we have institutional financial instruments, funds, strategies, programs, national in every country, which could support us to do everything well in biotechnology and bioengineering. And as for me, I'm sure that the main goal of our conclave was to see each other and to be honest, to be open for collaboration, so we achieve this goal. And I hope that everything will be okay, and we will do something really interesting and useful for our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And now I would like to request the young scientist, Dr. Snehasis Bhakta, Dr. Ramesh, and Dr. Vijay Lakshmi to kindly join us. Dr. Snehasis, who will be proceeding with the further presenting on behalf of the participants.
Welcome everyone in this presentation. So this is a joint presentation among me, Dr. Ramesh, and Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, and we'd like to discuss about the possibilities and what we can bring and what we want to explore different. So we discussed and we make one joint presentation on this. So can you please start the slide? Okay. Okay. So thank you. So before we start, actually, this presentation will be mainly about what Dr. Kolika already discussed about what are the main areas we already explored in during the presentation, and also I'll give some brief overview, like what are the areas we can also further go forward and how we can go forward. So definitely the collaborative research work is huge helpful for young scientists like us, and it will give open up a new platform. And also these challenges are it will be not very easy, as well as it will be very fun to work with different research groups and where we can actually explore their different facilities. So let's begin with our team includes from 8 countries, and we generally 8 people presented in this session, and mainly from India, 3 scientists, Russia 3 scientists, China 1, and Pakistan, where we explored different areas. Like if you see this biotechnology and bioengineering field, it has a wide range of application, and which is truly interdisciplinary in the terms that it includes chemistry, biology, material science, even agriculture, and a lot of other aspects. And all the 5 aspects we can include in this session. So as you see that we discussed here about the microbial pigments and their application, uh, Dr. Ramesh actually described very nicely about how we can extract that pigment, and you can use it for different applications like biosensors and some cell imaging, which is very useful. And also then I discussed about the protein binding nanomaterials, where most of the in recent trends, they are try to substitute the material for different applications. Say for example, in diagnostic kits, generally the kits are very expensive, and if we can substitute with this material based system, the price will be much cheaper. And within this SEO countries, I think that's a huge problem, the cost. So we can that could be affordable for everyone. And then also Dr. Vijay Lakshmi also she discussed about the micro device for platelet rich plasma separation. Again, this technology can be used in point of care as a point of care device, where it will be very low cost and it can be delivered to the remote area with very very limit, where the limit the sources are very limited. And plus we discussed in biotechnology like cell-based therapy, and then bioethanol production from in a different ways, where you can use the biotechnology and effectively produce bioethanol and use as a, also you can use as a energy. So you can see that in the first just looking at that, we need different research group, research activities to make it a successful, like chemistry, biology, even the medical team, to make it as very successful in this field. And also we have discussed about the delivery of protein therapeutics and the novel technology, where uh, uh, scientists from Russia actually showed like that you can design such a room that for effectiveness for the technology for honeysuckle plants. And also a scientist from Pakistan, he described nicely like how you can make tissue use the tissue culture technology to make very useful cultivation of plants like banana plants. So we'll add some new projects, new ideas, and the roadmap. But before that, what the collaboration and cooperation can help us. So that will help to bring new help to make us productive in terms of that if we work in a different groups, so different groups will can share different ideas and it will accelerate our work. So that is one of the thing. And also it can bring flexibility, because one of the nowadays the research are truly interdisciplinary. So one group may not have all the facilities, so if we can have collaboration, then the research will be much faster also. And maybe we'll have less work, all the individuals may not complete all the work in a less time, we can achieve our goal. So these are the and definitely we need collaboration and cooperative from the government side also to make it a very successful project. And our expectation from this platform is that we'd like to have a joint research project. And as I think Dr. Saurabh, before my talk, actually, he mentioned that that will be only successful if we can discuss with other young scientists from other SEO nation. And I think in this online platform, it is not, for some reason, it's not possible because of the time lag or other reasons. But if we can have one day session where we discussed actively and dedicated to this joint research project, that will be very helpful and fruitful for us. And then if it is possible, like in this scheme, if student and faculty exchange program, where we can, the students and the faculty both can learn new technologies and share their ideas and get to know a lot of many more knowledge. So that will be helpful. And maybe definitely annual conferences in this scheme will be helpful. And the state of art facilities, because to make science more visible, I would say. And so we need a much better facilities in terms of, so definitely more funding would be much more welcoming. So in this, first I'll discuss about few projects on nanomaterials, and then followed by Dr. Ramesh and Dr. Vijay Lakshmi. They will discuss their ideas and share their views on this. So as I described in my presentation, that protein binding nanomaterials has a huge application, huge I would say potential to replace a lot of natural based system. So if so first of all, it is material based, so that's why the cost will be much cheaper. And then another thing could be like in diagnostic kits, those are for after some time it degraded. So if we can substitute that, so then it will be much I'd say much stable for a long time, and it will be stable for and we can transport that system in a remote area. So we can work on this development of thin layer, highly selective antibody binding nanomaterials. I told that there are a lot of improvement needed in my project. So definitely I look forward some collaboration with this projects with other groups, with the biology group and also different biotechnology groups, and then make a column for antibody separation and industrialization. So as actually Dr. Prem Kumar mentioned that there is a need for industry and academic collaboration. So without that, it is since the lot of now people are looking for what is the product you have developed. So definitely the industry people knows better how to develop a product. So we know the science and we can collaborate with them and then come up with a new ideas which can give a product and can be useful for our general public. So in there are a lot of columns available again, and if we can replace with this material, even for the HPLC material also, those are very expensive. And sometimes even if you look at the chiral column, the chiral drugs, and one of the form is active, another form is really harmful. So if we can mix and we can make highly selective pockets using different materials, so then it will be very helpful, and I'd say at the same time very inexpensive. And again, in the proteomics, where actually doctor use a lot of first step is that they deplete the high abundant protein to enrich the low abundant protein. So if we can have a column which can actually deplete those protein and have a high and at a much lower price. So that is the main thing is that if we can have something protein binding nanoparticles, anything it could be, and can be applied in the diagnostics and try to replace those whichever are existing. And also this is one of the area we can focus, like nanomaterial based chemotherapy. So right now I think a lot of people are working on that, and new technologies are coming up, and even I think US FDA also approved silica based, some mesopora silica based nanoparticle for human trial 1 phase. So they just recently approved that. So I think silica is present in our human bones and in different forms. So that's why it is applicable. And the main idea is that if we can, this is a concept of drug delivery, and also to e- to have a vaccination kind of environment. So where we can have developed some nanomaterial based, like mesoporous silica nanoparticle based, some maybe some lipid like cholesterol based coated particles, and then whatever the drugs are important, so you can load it and then target the delivery, and at the same time it can generate the immunogenic response from that. So that is one of the projects I would like to work in maybe in the next 10 years, where we can develop some nanomaterials here and work with some other doctors or in some core biology group, and test that in vitro analysis over there. So that is I think it will be very effective projects, and I think has a lot of potential on this. So with this, I'd request Dr. Ramesh to continue.
Thank you, Sneha. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Thank you so much. As he was presenting, it is true, it is very important to have a collaborations at this current situation, because we cannot go single, with a single pace, we cannot do research in a perfect way, but it is a very good thing to have multiple collaborations to bring out good research for a better research and for better management of the society. So as I presented a few days back, I'm particularly interested in the microbial pigments from the deep sea resources, particularly from the bacteria and a few invertebrates. So these resources have not been explored from the deep sea. Most of the coastal biodiversity and coastal invertebrates and other animals, like other plant-based sources like seaweeds, seagrasses and mangroves, they have been explored widely, but they have limitations in giving multiple applications. They have only specific targets like antibacterial and antiviral. But whereas when we look into deep sea microbes, they will offer numerous number of applications. The pigments from these microbes can act as insecticidal and antimicrobial, antiviral, anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, and there are plenty of applications which to mention the use of these microbial-based pigments. So we can use pigment molecules for replacing the synthetic colorants. There are food grade pigments such as carotenoids, astaxanthin and zeaxanthin, and also xanthophylls, and also some riboflavins from microbes. So those can be utilized for food applications. So people who are really interested to in food science, they can utilize these pigments for replacing the synthetic colorants. So I am particularly interested to apply my particular pigments for in food science applications. That is one of the area, and also at the same time, uh, so many pigmented bacteria, they display anti-cancer activities. So these resources have not been addressed particularly from a marine and specifically from deep sea. So pigments like red and blue and violet and pink color, these are the rare pigments, but we can isolate those bacteria from deep sea. We can utilize these pigments for studying wide applications, including specifically I am interested to work on anti-cancer applications since many people are suffering at this current situation with many variety of cancer diseases. So I am interested to work on anti-cancer studies. So these are some of the applications I have mentioned of these microbial pigments. Apart from that, the luciferins and the fluorescent proteins from the bioluminescent organisms and fluorescent organisms from the deep sea, we can utilize them for study, for developing the biosensor based applications to detect various pollutants. As he was, Dr. Kulkarni, he addressed, we can utilize them for in vivo studies, for studying the disease propagations like the cancer propagations, or we can utilize these luciferins or fluorescent proteins for studying the development of any particular cell. In the plants also we can study the plant growth, we can study the embryo growth, and we can study the various organs development also in the in vivo studies. Uh, we can utilize these luciferins and fluorescent proteins for in bioimaging studies. So they have a lot of applications to develop biosensor-based microchips to detect arsenic or mercury and environmental pollutants, pesticides, or any other toxic, any kind of chemicals. So these are the applications we can utilize these particular chemicals, molecules for food and drug applications as well as to study the diseases. Apart from these things, I'm also interested to apply some of the solar energy based systems to detect bioluminescence in the deep sea. I wanted to study how much of energy, how much of photons is released from the bioluminescent organism, and how much energy can be harvested from these organisms in the deep sea. This is one of my interest which I have to speak to Dr. Panigrahi, who is working on solar energy based systems. So these are my focused points. Yeah. I just want to add two more points. Europe and the USA and the Japanese, these are the three major nations. They are mostly interested to develop food grade pigments, whereas our SEO nations with more populations, we are still looking for only synthetic colorants. We are not looking at the natural colorants, natural pigments. At this current scenario of global warming and climate change, many coastal and terrestrial biodiversity is being declined, and plant-based resources also very costly. Especially the microalgae and the seaweeds, they are not. We cannot get those resources throughout the year. But microbes from the ocean we can get all the year once you isolate, and you can culture it throughout the year, and you can harvest how much amount you want, that much amount of pigment you can culture from the microbes. But whereas from the plants we cannot accept the required amount of pigments. That is, those are the limitations. So as a SEO nations, we have to look into food grade pigments also, to replace, completely avoid the synthetic colorants, which are having a lot of side effects like cancer causing effects, and also teratogenic effects, and gastric problems, many other. So we have, with collaboration, we can bring out some of the natural food grade pigments from the ocean. Most of our SEO nations having a wide coastlines, right? So we can utilize these resources, and we can have a good collaboration to bring a very effective natural food grade pigments, as well as anti-cancer pigments for our people and society. Thank you.
Dr. Vijayalakshmi, please go ahead.
Thank you. So as you know that my research is focused on development of micro devices for the biomedical application. So a question arises why we need a point of care micro devices. So as you can see in the picture that the conventional method of testing by over the point of care of method of testing. So in the conventional method of testing, it is a very time taking, and it also delays the treatment of the patient. If we have a point of care testing, we can do the testing at home and then consult directly to the doctor, which reduces the time we are taking for the testing, and then also regulate the treatment of the patient. So these point of care micro devices provide early detection of disease, monitors disease progression, and they are portable and can be operated by any human being, which are not specialized in that area also, such as like glucometer. We can use, everyone can use these that glucometer. So the main purpose of these devices is to provide a timely treatment to the patients. And another aspect is that they are very valuable for the areas where the healthcare facility is very limited, such as in the where power is not available. These micro devices will be a very game changer in that field. If we can provide and commercialize these devices in that areas, it will help a lot of people for the treatment of diseases. In addition to that, these micro devices also require very less volume of sample as well as reagent, which further reduces the cost of the treatment and also the diagnostics. So next slide, please. So if you can see the microfluidic technology, its market and growth. So microfluidic technology integrate several several steps in a one chip, such as sample preparation, mixing up and separation, sensing, detection, and also communication of data into a chip. So these are the very compact, low cost, and portable micro devices. And if you can see the application of these micro devices, it covers almost all the life science areas, such as pharmaceuticals, clinical and veterinary diagnostics, point of care diagnostics, and analytical devices. In addition to that, it also covers the drug delivery and environmental and industrial research also. And if we can see that the attractive opportunities of this microfluidic technology, and we can see that in 2025, till 2025, there is a large growth in this market. So approximately 22.9% compound growth is there. And this is because of the rising demand of point of care micro devices for the early detection and improved testing of these methods. So there is a very need of these micro devices for the development of these micro devices and provide in the biomedical field. Next slide, please. So these are few projects for the future, and the first one will be the a point of care micro device for sorting of rare cells, which are circulating tumor cell for the detection of diagnosis of the cancer, and another is a fetal cell for the prenatal testings. And another project will be a cell capturing, counting, and isolating biological entities for several disease diagnostic and prognostic method. Apart from that, the project can also include the biotechnological technology in the field of healthcare and drug delivery. And at the end, the target for the 10-year will be to develop a human on-chip model for drug development and the testing. So based on that, the overall the broader way of the 10-year roadmap will be so that we can develop a human on a chip model where we can test several medicines or drugs, and and we reduce the animal based testing and the other conventional based testing where we are not exactly able to replicate the human physiology. So it will be a very great opportunity if we collaborate with the SEO nation and move forward in this area.
With this, I would like to add a few things. Like we are definitely very much interested and very would be looking for some active collaboration in this biotechnology and bioengineering field. At the same time, we are very open to open for the other groups as well. Like as I mentioned, like core biology group, medical team group, where we can have some product and also develop for and make it make it in the market for general public. With this, our team would like to thank you, the SCO, for this beautiful conclave, DST India, Dr. Arvind Kumar, Dr. Dimitri Kulikov, Dr. S. Venkata Mohan, Dr. Prem Kumar, and Dr. Aman Agarwal, and all the organizing committee members here who are present, and all the respected dignitaries who are present also in online platform. Thank you so much. And Dr. Ramesh and Dr. Vijay, would you like to add few things? Okay, if so, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sneshesh Bhakta, and the other participants at the same time for the strategic presentation, highlighting the frontier areas for R&D projects and microbial pigments, protein binding, raw material, to name few. I may now request Dr. Dmitry Kulikov to present remarks, please.
Excuse me?
So we can't hear you properly. Can you be a bit more louder?
Okay. What about now?
Yeah, it's perfect. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, what was the request? Can you repeat it, please?
So I requested for the remarks, sir.
I just want to thank everybody, and it was very useful and fruitful for all of us. And thank you very much. And I hope that in the future we will do something really good together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, for sharing your valuable insights and bringing out the target areas to this forum for future collaboration. A very, very thank to each and everybody all together, those who are present out here. Also, we'll be moving on to the next presentation. That's all about combating COVID-19 and emerging pandemics. And to present the report, may I now request Dr. Manmohan Menirata to please kindly have the proceeding part done.
Thank you so much. At the outset, I'd like to express my gratitude to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, for reposing faith in me to take care of this thematic area. I'm also very thankful to Professor Rajendra Prasad, the chair of the whole program, Dr. Arvind Kumar, Dr. Varshne, and in Hyderabad IICT, Professor Chandrasekhar and Dr. Venkatmohan. I don't know how many calls we have made with each other for the smooth conduct of this meeting. I present this report on behalf of myself and Professor Anant Mohan. He is occupied, so I'm also presenting this on his behalf. We both are from New Delhi, and this is a virtual event. Had been very successful event, except some minor technical glitches which I have seen world over happen. And compared to that, this is absolutely ignorable, and everything went by clock and smoothly. So on this, as she has already said, the topic was combating pandemic. So far, what have happened? Way forward. And here I will like to extend very warm welcome to all my colleagues who have joined from SCO countries and observer countries. What we call in India as Namaskar, Ni Hao in Chinese, and in Russian and adjacent language, or Walaikum Salam in Pakistan. So synopsis, let me see that, how did it go? So these were the 8 talks, 4 on 26th evening and 4 on 27th morning. The session started with combating COVID-19 and emerging pandemics through research and innovation. The first talk was given by myself. After that, the young innovative minds, first presenter was Dr. Yan Wang from Shenzhen Institute of Advanced Technology, what he said, SIAT from China. Lung distribution of antiviral matters in COVID-19 treatment. He presented about various antiviral, anti-HIV drugs which can penetrate the lung. Then after that, no, don't change the slides, please. I will change myself. Then there was commercialization of the new ideas for the medical management of CBR and emergencies, which Dr. Navneesh Sharma very enthusiastically presented. I will be giving further details later. The next talk was by Anamika Singh on graphene, usage to protect various devices like face shield, as well as the mask, so that it become economically low cost and useful in low and middle income countries. Then Dr. Vishnu Jayan from Amrita Anandamai, Amrita Vidyapeetham, spoke about Papad and how it can be made more customer friendly for the user. I am from medical field. I know how difficult it is to be in PP for a long time. Thereafter was friend from Russia, Anton, Pigeonkin method for predicting the spread of viral diseases using big data. And then Pakulova, Ekaterina, very dynamic person, presented multimodal communication from monitoring the health status of a person. Then Dr. Sergey, often there is an interruption in power supply. He mentioned about web-based platform aimed to help building infrastructure capable of uninterruptible power supply in COVID-19 hospital. Very, very important. There are a large number of patients who are on ventilator. There are a large number of patients who are on monitor. In those situations, this is mandatory all the time, 24/7 by 365 days. The importance of telemedicine during COVID-19 pandemic, Nazi Majon mentioned about this. In my institute, we had been using since 2015 for medical purposes, connecting with our patients, even in the city from faraway places, from the states, country, and intra-regional, as well as outside the country. And friend from Uzbekistan highlighted it very well, that how this can be facilitated and helpful in the pandemic. So in the first talk, what I gave was on the pandemic so far, what lesson learned, COVID-19 current situation, and the way forward. So in one slide each I will show. So what was I will not go repeat my presentation, but I would like to mention here So need for interdisciplinary studies and research. The word will keep coming collaboration, collaboration, collaboration as this is. So best way is surveillance and early diagnosis, sharing of data with each other. Don't keep to yourself. Containment and mitigation, fast track research and innovation, outreach for public health. That's the ultimately which matters. We may do anything in the lab. And if it doesn't reach the public, it's of hardly any use. Tapping and preserving our natural resources. You heard so much of agriculture science, renewable energy. Then we also need, we are medical fraternity or research fraternity, but we also need political and social will. Increase funding as the previous moderator also mentioned for the GDP, especially in low income countries. Strengthening the healthcare delivery system, review of the action plan, global task force, preparation of a comprehensive plan for future pandemics. Like in our country, the top leadership is taking so much interest. Today, our Prime Minister is visiting 3 vaccine institutes so that it gets further impetus. These are in Ahmedabad, Pune, and then he's coming to Hyderabad. So that's the way the leadership has to lead so that it becomes a strong movement. Then comes Yan Wang, mentioned about various agents. I'll not repeat everything, but he said, however, most of the samples for viral DNA, RNA tests were collected from nasopharyngeal and oropharyngeal swab. What we do for RT-PCR. He suggested to better evaluate antiviral drugs that target GI tract, the stool sample should also be collected and analyzed in future. Then comes Dr. Navneet Sharma. He had done number of projects, and his main was CBRN, and this is one of the, I will say, biological, which he mentioned about, that developed the CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear decontamination station, which is not only capable to decontact the viral load. When we go to hospital, there are 600 patients around. I always look for, hope I don't get infection, my employees don't get infection. But also the toxic industrial materials and hazardous radionuclide from the personal protective equipment, surgical items, and food materials. For some time, the emergency surgeries were stopped. Routine surgeries were stopped, but now it's back, and we have to protect ourselves. We have to live in new normal. Then comes the next presentation was by Anamika Singh. As I said, the inventor of graphite who got Nobel Prize, she wants to work on graphene, which is a concept she has, which she needs to do the translational medicine or translational application for protection of various devices, say face mask, face shield, and PP kit from the virus, so that it doesn't stay on the surface and it becomes less expensive for the low-income countries. Then Vishnu enthusiastically mentioned about Papar, how in this, at present, it is uncomfortable. He is from Cochin, and how it is uncomfortable at present. So he is trying to develop a low-cost, open-source Papar for medical professional, which I will welcome very much need of the hour. And this Papar will be very helpful. Now these are now conducting a usability testing study with 20 Papers at Amrita Anandamai Institute, which I visited myself, and I have a lot of colleagues there working, doing very high standard job. Then was the Anton, Dr. Anton from Russia. How the big data help preventing the spread of the virus or the pandemics, this or in future. Now he has proposed a new method for predicting the spread of viral diseases. That's what I said. Early detection, early testing, mitigating, and treating. The method is based on the use of personalized data sets. Like we have Arogya Setu, I have not shown it here in India, which is being used by millions of people. Every day I know whether I'm safe or not. The model under research for the spread of viruses involves the use of data from the internet and social networks, and it has to be obviously cloud-based. Now next comes from Dr. Ekaterina Pakulova from Russia, and she outlined the possible communication channels for illness detection in person who ill with COVID-19 and possible modalities. And it may be considered a architecture of such a system and its algorithm. Now, she wants to application work with different access network for a heterogeneous environment simultaneously, which can be used in any country, in any ambience, in any environment, what she beautifully highlighted. Then comes the Dr. Sergey. He was the first presenter. Web-based platform aimed to building the infrastructure capable of uninterruptible power supply for COVID-19 hospitals. We have seen number of tragedies happening because of this problem. When there is an interruption in the power supply, there's no backup generator, and patients are on vital monitors. So automated calculation for required power of, say, intensive care unit, coronary care unit, neonatal ICU, location-based standards and requirement, and list of power equipment available, which we can share in SCO countries, typical power grid and network topologies, environment data. So it can be location-based web services, knowledge database, code and topologies repository. So this will reduce the cost and time for building COVID-19 hospitals and will lead to constant improvement of methods for quick, efficient infrastructure deployment. Very good project. Then comes the importance of telemedicine during COVID-19. As Nozi Majon mentioned, as I said, we have been using for 2015. I think in COVID time, as we are interacting, similarly, I've given webinars to Africa, to Pakistan, to India, national journal clubs. So all these are through telemedicine. And also to other hospitals, how we can help the patients in our smaller hospitals. So he highlights telediagnostics and teleconsultation, cheap, high quality and modern medical devices, easy for organization and economically time, finance saving, remote assistance to doctors. Very important, very, very important. And this I will like to suggest in SCO countries, from the research, from the innovative minds and medical fraternity should come together to help the public at large. So with this, I would like to say big thanks again to my country members in SCO and who are here in around large number. So Dhanyavad from India, or thank you in English, CC in China and other language, and Shukriya in Pakistan. So thank you so much. And I think I'll stop here and then come back later. And I hand over the mic to the organizers on this stage.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, with this, we're going to be moving to the next presentation. And the next presentation is by the young scientist, Navneet Sharma. So over to you, sir. Dr. Navneet, I would like to request you to kindly make a full screen. Yeah.
Good morning to all. And as Sir had discussed about the outcomes which we had decided after the our discussion, after the panel discussion. So I'm going to present what all way forward techniques and what all way forward planning is required to combat the emerging pandemics. So on behalf of all the young scientists, panelists and chair of the session, I am further discussing the facts. So as we had discussed about, as the sir had already discussed with you, the biological pandemics are the part of a big acronym that is CBRN, which stands for the chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear. Since the start of the civilization and after the industrial revolution of the England in the 18th century, there is a lot of chances of the disaster in terms of the chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear. As far as the chemical is concerned, every 3 or 4 years it came in our concern that there is some spillage in the chemical industry, or there is some spillage or the contamination through the use of toxic industrial chemicals, toxic industrial materials, and as well as the incidents involving toxic chemical waste. Of course, it also includes the incidents of the chemical terrors. When we come about And when we talk about the B part of the CBRN, that is biological, and it includes the biowarfare agent, liberation of organisms leading to infectious diseases, reckless handling of toxic biological agents, agroterrorism and bioterrorism. Of course, it also includes a big part of the spread of the pandemic, and these pandemics and epidemics are also the part of the biological contamination. And when we talk about the radiological and nuclear defense, it includes the use of the nuclear material in the nuclear medicine facilities, as well as the accidental exposure of the individuals after a nuclear holocaust or a nuclear disaster, as had seen in the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. So, first of all, most important thing, to combat any CBRN casualty or to combat any biological calamity, such as the current pandemic, we have to work only the two aspects. The first aspect is the awareness of the individuals, and another aspect is the development of the products. What we had discussed together in the panel and what we had decided that to act on the two parts, first to create a awareness, there has to be set some strategies, some nuclear system under which the other disaster management forces will work to combat for the medical management of the pandemics. And another aspect, as the backbone of any combating to any severe and emergency or any pandemic, is the development of the products. So, what is the way ahead? To combat any pandemic, there is need to set up the strategies. There is need to divide our plan into the small parts, that is small 5-year plans with respect to the upgradation in the training system, to create the awareness among the first responders such as medical doctors, police forces, and another one is to develop a facility which has to be developed by keeping a target of 10 to 20 years. Today we have COVID. Before we have H1N1, we don't know after the 10 or after 5 or 6 year or 10 year which pandemic we are going to have. As we had seen in case of COVID pandemic, at the starting of this pandemic, lot of the governments and lot of the countries had created some lockdown, and this lockdown has to be implemented to strengthen the capacity, to strengthen the facilities to fight to any pandemic. So there is need to establish the facilities and technologies, and as well as there is a requirement to develop the products. Products has to be developed by keeping the 5-year plans, and products such as vaccines, antimicrobials, decontamination systems. Apart than that, PPE kits, the R&D in the development of the PPE and all. So these all three targets or the strategies which have to be set to combat any sort of severe and emergency or any sort of pandemic. And it will be better if these kind of facility has to be developed under a nodal center. In any of the SC nation, if a nodal center had been established, under that center, the regional centers are there in the individual SCO countries, and this nodal center is having a central plan. It is having a central command with respect to the training and awareness to the individual, as well as if any small incidents had been occurred to any part, any village or any town of any of the SCO country. So the information of that particular incidents to that particular area has to be conveyed to other regional centers. The time dependent warning system has to be implemented. So it will lead to help in the management of these kind of pandemics. So coming individually on the strategy and target, at the beginning I had told you, to combat any sort of pandemic, there is the requirement for the awareness is the to fight to any pandemic or any severe emergency. And to create the awareness, there must be required to set up a training system. There is the requirement to train the first responder right from the village where a medical practitioner is working or a paramedic is working, from that place to a higher level. There is a requirement to aware them in terms of the training, and there is a requirement for establishment of a training center, at least at a national level, which comes under the state levels, the state agencies which will report to this national level training center, and the master trainers, like in a hospital, in a district hospital, individual doctor or individual medic has to be trained with respect to the combating the severe and emergency. So these medical paramedics or a doctor will get trained in this nodal center And we can say that the training of the master trainers had to be conducted in these regional centers, and from here they will get trained, and after that when they reach to their unit or when they will reach to their hospitals, they will train to other pupils and other doctors with respect to combat these chemical, biological, radiological emergencies. So there is the requirement to develop the training modules, the materials for the mock exercise and tabletops, equipment classification and assessment in relation to the use of the products to be developed during collaboration. If there is some scientific collaborations between the SCO nation with respect to the development of the products such as vaccines, apart from their decontamination systems, PPEs. So there is a need to make a inter collaboration between the users and the creators. That means the persons who are inventing, they have to invent their products, a technology smart with respect to the need of the art, with respect to the need of the end users. So there is an inter collaboration with respect to the R&D, with respect to the training is required, and this kind of centers, if they were established, so they will give a awareness with respect to the recent advancement in the combating these kind of natural calamities such as pandemics and other severe emergencies. So the strategies has to be targeted with respect to the training and the conceptual framework for biological emergencies. Apart from that, there is a requirement to establish the facilities, at least one facility at the national level, a dedicated hospital or a dedicated facility or a dedicated center, which is completely dedicated to combat these kind of severe and calamities. Not only the biological pandemics such as COVID-19, but it will also help to deal the chemical calamities like any spillage in the chemical plants, as well as the radiological, as our country is having almost 7 to 8 nuclear power plant, and we are in the plan to establish few more nuclear plant by the coming 10-year plans. So there is the requirement to establish a dedicated centers or dedicated analytical facilities for the testing of these hazardous biological agents, chemical agents, or radiological agents. As these facilities must be equipped with the biosafety labs level 3 or 4, RT-PCRs, mass spectroscopy and GCs. These all facilities has to be established under one umbrella, or those instruments has to be keep completely dedicated, or this facility has to completely dedicated to combat to analysis for the R&D of the materials which is required, or the product which is required for the management of severe emergencies. There is as we know that the 21st century is the century of internet, use of the computers and virtual reality. So to train the master trainers, there is the requirement to establish a simulated training center for the management of the biological emergencies. Here in this center, I'm going to discuss in the coming slides also what all required in this kind of simulated training center. Here are 3D virtual reality, real-time scenarios were created on a screen, and the first responder will get trained in front of the real scenarios, how to combat these scenarios, what kind of pharmaceuticals has to be given, what kind of rehabilitation has to be given to the victims of these severe emergencies, including the pandemics. As a model has been seen by the ICMR in our country, that they had established some mobile sample collection units. So under the umbrella of this nodal center, these mobile sample collection units has to be established on the trucks or other conveyance means, and by using these mobile sample collection units, they will collect the samples at the far remote areas of the victims or the contaminated, or we can say that infected people, and it will help for the containment of the individuals, those who are infected from the any kind of disease or any kind of infection. So these all technologies has to be established under this nodal center. So this is a small glimpse. What are the proposed activities at this kind of nodal center? This nodal, there is it will be better if a separate center has been established. Otherwise, in the ongoing institutes, if a separate nodal center has been created, which is having all these facilities within themselves, and under this umbrella, all these facilities like establishment of the bioagent detection surveillance network. For an example, if suppose a small outbreak, just an example in case of Nipah virus, a small outbreak was occurred, 4 or 5 individual was infected individual was identified by the healthcare facilities in some remote town of Kerala, and after that they had sent their information, basic information, to some channel, and from there that nodal center, the regional centers which are connected with this nodal center will get the information regarding with the outbreak of that disease, their spreading pattern and all the things. So there is a need to establish a bioagent detection and surveillance network, which is known as BDSN, under this nodal center, as well as there is a requirement to establish a mathematical modeling based system which will be helpful to identify the severity and the spread of disease. So with the help of this mathematical modeling system, one can identify that how much time this disease will take to spread from one country or one region to the another region. As I told you earlier in the beginning of this presentation, that training and awareness is one of the backbone to manage any kind of pandemic, any kind of severe emergencies. So there is a requirement of the training of the individual, and for that, master trainers will come this nodal center. They will get their e-learning manuals, awareness manuals. Apart from that, their knowledge of the management of biodefense. So using all these 3D virtual reality and all these things, the training, the persons or the master trainers, those who came in this nodal center to get trained, get their information, their complete package of the information to with themselves, and they can aware to the individual pupils, those who are in their units or in their hospitals. So they will make a small task force in every district hospital which are capable to combat these kind of severe scenarios. So this is the ardent need of the hour. Apart than that, as we had seen that in the beginning of this calamity, there are the shortage of the hospitals and dedicated centers with respect to the management of these kind of biological pandemics. So there is a requirement to make a separate 200 or 300 bed hospitals in every district center or in a nodal center, which is completely dedicated for the management of these CVRN victims, which also includes the victims from some novel diseases. So this is the working of this nodal center, which we are proposing. So coming on individual surveillance network system, which I had discussed with you earlier, that is BDSN, Bioagent Detection and Surveillance Network. With the help of this network system, this system just act like the environmental monitoring system. How the environmental agencies or the agencies which are dealing with the monsoon systems, with the tides and other natural calamities, the same system has been followed by the environmental agencies, and on the time-dependent basis, they convey their warnings and the messages to the individuals, to the media with respect to the outbreak of disease. So there is a requirement to establish a bioagent detection and surveillance network system at the nodal center, and all the international laboratories are connected with this nodal system, and there is a command and control center, and with the help of the satellites, landline linkage, the information regarding with a small outbreak has to be conveyed to the other regional centers of the other country. So this will help in the management of these kind of biological disasters or these kind of biological pandemics as well as severe and emergencies. Coming on mathematical modeling of a spread of severity of infectious disease. So these kind of model will help in the prediction of the spread of the disease. How much time the disease will take, or what are the predictions to the contaminated victims or the contaminated individual of the particular disease. So these kind of mathematical modeling system has to be established in this nodal center. A central server was there, and access to the server has to be given to each and every regional centers which are established in the separate SCO countries. So the backup of the system has to be given, and access has to be given to each and every regional server center, and the information regarding the spread, the cross-border spread of the disease and the pandemics has to be shared mutually among the different agencies. So this kind of system has to be established under this nodal center. Now comes about the training of the trainers. So when we talk about the training of the trainers, this is one of the important aspects. As we know that already there is a system which was established by the defense personnel, each and every country. They are taking their own safety measures with respect to the severe emergencies. And those measures are highly classified. But what about the civil agencies like hospitals, police forces, how they will get trained about these kind of small emergencies, severe emergencies? So there is a requirement to set up a separate training center where the civilian forces will identify the challenges and the opportunities to collaborate with them to get trained in a single channel. And most important, as the Dr. Mediator has explained in the beginning of this session, there is a requirement of the inter-collaboration or interlinkage between the first responders, that is doctors, paramedics, police forces, and the persons who are working in the lab. The research with respect to the management of these severe and emergencies or these kind of biological pandemic has to be driven by the requirement of the individual, the persons who are working in the field. So there is a requirement for an internal interaction and cooperation, which includes the maturity of the two entities involved and the mutual transparency. Awareness generation. This is one of the most important part. As a country, highly densely populated country like India, it is very difficult to get trained each and every healthcare individual or each and every medical staff or paramedic to a particular center. They came to a particular center, get trained. So it will be better if the master trainers or the training of the trainers has to be conducted in this nodal center. Here, some kind of awareness manual has to be developed, and in these awareness manuals, the business continuity plans after the lockdown, apart than that, how to demystify not only the COVID-19, Ebola, Zik, all kind of processes, how to demystifying all these pandemics, and uh, uh, how to create a new normal after the outbreak of these pandemics. So the manuals, the awareness books related with this, the teaching material related with this has to be distributed through this nodal center, and and it was observed that recently the Central Board of Secondary Education in India had incorporated a separate chapter for the management of disaster at the high school level, at the 10th level of the students. So it will be better if a separate chapter with respect to the CVR and emergencies, with respect to the pandemic management, with respect to the contagious disease, is incorporated in the curriculum of the right from our school system. So this will create some aware individuals in our country, and in case of any sort of pandemic, they itself have awareness how to take basic precautions and all. So this kind of task in this nodal center will help a lot in the development of these kind of manuals. As I told you, currently the blackboards are, especially after the outbreak of the pandemics, the blackboards have been removed from the classrooms, and now this is the era of the virtual reality. So the master trainers, which will come in this nodal center or a particular center where they will get trained, they will get some real-time scenario exposure of the real-time case scenarios were created in front of them, and they will act for the protection, detection, and decontamination according to the need of the hour. In this real-time scenario, they will identify how to apply pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceutical intervention diagnostic in case of any victim of any biological calamity or any disease or any CBRN calamity. Biosafety and biosecurity, they will get aware about all these things. So these kind of, with the help of these kind of virtual reality sessions, real-time scenarios, simulation technology. Also, in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, what we have is the human patient simulator. In that, this is a kind of dummy, and in that dummy, they create all the scenarios. Like if it is exposed by the anthrax, if it get exposed by some kind of disease. So what all the changes has been observed, vital parameters have been observed in that dummy. According to that, the doctors will get trained on that robot. We can say that a dummy, and they will give the medicines and treatment to them. So these kind of virtual reality simulation technologies and these kind of human patient simulator can be used to train these kind of master trainers to get them aware about the real scenarios. Of course, I told you our product is the backbone to combat any kind of casualty. We have a lot of plan. Every country is having a lot of plans with respect to the development of the products, which includes the vaccines, antiviral formulations, diagnostic kits, rapid kits. So these kind of products, the strategy, which has to be depend upon time-dependent manner, like 5-year strategy has to be established in this kind of nodal center, where the coming 5-year plan has been developed with respect to the diagnostics, vaccines, formulations, and as well as protective clothing for quick response medical teams and quick response teams. For an example, when we talk about the doctors, those who are working in the medical facilities, suppose if a severe victim will come in their medical facility, if this is a victim, is not only a person who is infected by some deadly disease, if what happens if it is infected by some radiological contaminant, and if it is contaminated by some chemical contaminant. So the protective clothing, that is NVC suits, which were weared by at that time by the doctors, they are very bulky one and very heavy one. It is very difficult for them to wear those suits and work constantly for 2 to 3 hours. So,
Navneet, can you please conclude now? I think so. It's,
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Within 2 minutes, I'm just going to complete. Thank you, sir. So these kind of intercorrelation is required for the development of the products and all these techniques. So the way forward, these 3 or 4 concluded points, just in 1 minute, I'm going to complete it. as we had discussed in the beginning, that the best way to manage pandemic is to improve the management of existing public healthcare threats. Building infrastructure separate from day-to-day public health practice is of great need. Joint workshops on research and innovation, as well as training programs in terms of the chemical, biological, and radiological protection is required. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
So
Thank you so
stop
much, sir.
sharing. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, here I would like to request Dr. Manmohan sir to kindly present the remarks.
Okay. So 1 minute, just give me a minute.
Sure, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Navneet, for doing
Thank
a
you, sir.
very good job and summing up very well on behalf of the group. And I'm sharing this slide here again to highlight only few points, not too many points. I wish to thank Dr. Sonu Gandhi. I think she must be in audience. She beautifully moderated the session yesterday, and there were very good remarks. She is from National Institute of Animal Biotechnology, Hyderabad. Dr. Sonu, if you are in the audience, I wish to sincerely thank you for bringing out important points. You must be feeling that why I am showing this slide third time. But this is the way forward, which Navneet has also said, but I'm showing it in a larger way. In my earlier presentation, I've shown in a very small slide. This is basically to highlight again what we should do. I'll not speak each and every word, but as he said, awareness. Catch early, awareness, fast track the research and innovation. Not that we keep sitting and then we'll think of vaccine next year, no. So there are so many candidates, 5 candidates are now successful to launch the vaccine. And that is what that every public health personnel, or not only the health worker, but everyone should get the vaccine. Then comes what he said as the will power, whether it is from the health workers, medical fraternity, research scientists, young mind like you, innovative minds, each one has to come together and to have a global task force. So that's the requirement for this type of activity. Now there is a opportunity for international collaboration, like SCO is a collaboration. Now this is the first SCO meeting for young scientists collaboration. And whatever the way we people who are not as young as say Vishnu is, Navneet is, Anamika is, or our friend from Anton is from Russia, or Wang from China, but we'll be happy to assist and guide them to be successful and bring out this change in the society with their innovation and research. These all three are about the collaboration in publication in 2020. So last slide my should be, what is the take-home message? We must always give take-home message, key points. Dr. Sonu also mentioned yesterday, and I also mentioned, indeed the presentation and initiative by you young scientists, I should not say these young scientists, by you young scientists across combating pandemic, all thematic areas were very novel and interesting. Young scientists talked very enthusiastically about their research, and I also had the opportunity to learn a lot. I also had the opportunity, and I am rich today in knowledge. The question and answer session in the end really helped in networking, interaction, exploring new opportunities, and collaborations. Future sessions like these will help accelerate the scientific growth, progress, what was mentioned by the previous moderator also, and attract more and more best young scientists. Again, we want to compliment and congratulate the SCO, Department of Science and Technology, the directors, the secretary of DST, respected secretary sir, as well as director Dr. Rashne, Dr. Arvind, and the chair, Professor Rajendra Prasad, and as well as Dr. Venkatmohan and Chandrasekhar for bringing this to fruition and a successful program. So with this, I will stop, and one word again, we have to work as a team. Let us work together. Let us collaborate. You may have different idea. I will have different idea. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Sonu just wrote. Dr. Sonu Gandhi wrote, she is here. Very nice of you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a pleasure to have you here around the corner. Well, moving on to the next presentation, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be all about environmental protection and natural resource. And to present the report, may I now request Professor P. Rajendra Prasad to kindly take over the forum. Professor Rajendra Prasad, kindly take over the forum.
Yeah, can you please hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. I think I know I'm going to stay for a while between you and your lunch, but let me be very quick before I really start. You see, one of the basic things is I think it's a great opportunity to given to all of us in the name of Young Scientist Forum, and we people also were able to get into this system, and we really thank SCO, the corporation, and the corporation organization, then the Department of Science and Technology from India for this great opportunity. Now, coming to this environmental session, you see, environmental aspects have become more and more aware in these days. And then one of the most important things is, I think everybody is very much concerned. So in this environment, incidentally, it so happened that, the natural resource management is also put up. And effectively, the whole thing indirectly or directly was focusing more on water and soil. That's what really has happened. And the effect, and when you really look into the ground reality also, most of the time the environment, though the atmospheric components have not been dealt very much in this particular aspect, but rest of the aspects have been dealt very well. So very quickly, if I can go, uh, the slide change is not happening from my side. What could be the reason? Hello?
Sir, click your mouse on the screen and then press next.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, sir.
No, it will,
So,
it will.
yeah. So now there are about 2 lead talks given by Dr. Aladdin and Dr. Ghosh, Gupta ji. So I think they were really excellent. And those 2 talks were on the broader sense of how environment what are the challenges that are present in the environment today, and how do we really go ahead, and similarly on the natural resources. So, and incidentally, all the aspects that have been covered really works for all the 8 SCO nations. That's the beauty of it. So they are very common, and that really gives us a very good strength that why we should really collaborate and then work hard. So then there are about 13 presentations, and there are from 6 SCO nations. So then the next thing is, so the next concept is, I think, just to give you an overall view of what was presented in all these 13 presentations. So the focus was on more on water and soil. So indirectly, the entire environment is covered with this water and soil. And while doing with water and soil, I think the domestic needs and the agricultural aspects and the industrial issues have been dealt very clearly. So this is one of the important issues which we thought, broadly speaking, water and soil was covered, and then these 3 areas, their impact on these 3 areas have been really dealt. While water is concerned, I think both quantity and quality has been dealt very well, because I'm not dealing with individuals who has talked about what, but I'm trying to give you an overall picture of what has been covered in this. So as far as the water quantity is concerned, I think integrated management and demand assessment and forecast, they are the 3 major issues which have been dealt in that. So some of the project proposals have been looking at a total of integrated water resource management and the demand assessment, and also to see what's going to happen in the next few years. So then they were also looking into the hydrological processes and model studies, including the impacts of climate change. That's one of the things. Then the overall water balance models have been studied to really look at the quantity aspects. So next is one more issue that has come up is for a regional study. I think the GRACE data has been used by one of the colleagues, and she was mentioning about what could be done, how the regional assessment can be made. But that was also presented in this. Then coming to the water quality aspects, I think this is something which has been not given enough importance in the past few years, but I think last one decade, I think all over the world, and especially in all these SEO member states, enough importance has been given, and the quality assessment of monitoring and treatment. That's the most important thing. So one of the aspects is the quality assessment is being done, monitoring is being done on a periodic basis, and what are the treatment and management technologies that are to be implemented are also in place. So then some of the project proposals papers have really dealt in detail about this. And one or two papers also discussed on the climate change and the human intervention and the environment and natural resources. What really happens with this climate change and the human intervention on the environment? That has been done, but most of it is dealt with the soil. Okay, now water. Then when the water quality, if it is continued, if I go into the details of water quality elements that have been dealt, assessment and treatment of and reuse and recycle, that's the broad thing that has been done. So one of the papers very clearly brought out, it's really good and then encouraging, say antibiotic resistant bacteria, that's increasing as an emerging pollutant, then antibacterial bacterial antibiotic resistance as an emerging global challenge. Then the genes, you see, antibiotic resistance genes are also built. This is one aspect from the emerging pollutants component, the pharmaceutical products and so on. This aspect has been dealt very well, and which is the need of the day in all these countries. So then the lake water restoration has been one of the issues that has been dealt. Then humic premixes and the complexes, you see, processings in the natural materials is one of the issues which has been dealt, and modernization of existing treatment plants and to suit the regulations as well as the developing technology. I think this is one of the most important things. You see, a number of places, a number of treatment plants are existing to treat the wastewaters, but unfortunately their performance levels are very low because of the technology and power consumption and then other issues. Now I think modernizing them is becomes a very, apart from identifying new technologies, I think modernizing them is also a most important aspect, then which will also save our resources. So then another aspect is the oil spill cleaning of the soils. You see, the soil cleaning is the most important thing, which will also increase our agricultural productions. So then the green technologies in this use are have been dealt in one of the papers. Then humic composites and nanoparticles together, I think both for environmental protection and treatment of the soil. Then agriculture waste management, biodegradation, and edible material. This is something which is quite interesting. You see, you have a lot of agricultural waste material that's being produced, and how best can you really utilize them, reuse them, to use produce something which is biodegradable, but which can also be edible. This is something really quite interesting. If it is not edible, then it should be biodegradable. So from these points, I think that's one thing. Then graphene-based nanomaterial treatment for water. And this is something quite interesting, but this is there for quite a long time. But the basic thing is use of these nanomaterials for water treatment, whether it's being wastewater as well as drinking water. That is something which has really been dealt very well in one of these papers. So there's another testing material, because you see, testing of these quantities, whether they are present, and if so, at what level. So this, especially for heavy metals, I think new technologies have been really brought in, and in this paper that was also being discussed. So then reducing what, see, one more most important and quite encouraging thing that has come up is, use of huge quantities of water and huge quantities of chemicals in various industries like leather industry, then dye industry, and so on and so forth. So in leather industry, one of the papers have really brought out a system, more or less a zero discharge system, wherever, but there is some wastewater that's being produced, but you are going to recover all the chemicals which will be reused in the same process from the same wastewater. So this is quite interesting, which will really reduce the load on the environment. So these are broadly the topics that have been discussed, and there have been proposals, innovative proposals that have come up from the people. So the proposals which can be put together, it's on the groundwater storage and dynamics, because one of the most important things in all these SCO nations which we are talking about, agriculture is one of the major activities which is consuming more than 60 to 85% of the available water resources. So that has really put in a lot of pressure on the groundwater extraction far beyond its replenishability. So this is one of the proposals which has come up, that groundwater storage and dynamics and its forecast should be studied. Then other area is treatment of emerging contaminants with a focus on pharmaceutical and personal care products. Then the third area is agricultural waste management and biodegradable products for multiple uses. Then development of sensors, because as far as the water quality is concerned, or even the quantity sometimes, is you need to have sensors which will be able to do their job on real time, and for which IoT is going to help a lot. So with the use of IoT, finally decision making. So this is what is being developed, what's being contemplated in this. So then solvent cum reagent technology to aim at zero discharge and conservation of water and chemicals. Then humic premixes and composites for soil management, and then increased agricultural productivity. Then integrated mountain hydrology, glaciology, and integrated water resource management, including the groundwater systems. So then water resources management for sustainable development and climate change, because broadly speaking, the climate change is also going to have a very broad impact on us. So hence, I think climate change also becomes an inbuilt part of it. This is also one of the areas which has been promoted. So with this, I think this is what has been broadly covered under this. And as you can see, broadly, the environmental aspects is dominated by the water sector and the soil sector and the agriculture. So all these three put together, I think everybody in all these 8 nations have been working very seriously on these aspects. And I think it really deserves a very good collaboration. And maybe at the end, we'll discuss about what type of collaboration would be coming up. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, for the preceding part done, now the presentation is going to be by the young scientists. So without further ado, may I have Satish Murali onto the forum, please?
Madam, can I audible? Hello. Yeah. In the behalf of Satish Murali, I am delivering the lecture, madam. Myself, Anjaneyulu Kottakota.
All right, sir. Please go ahead. You can share your presentation screen.
It's visible.
Yeah. Just make it as a full screen.
Yeah. Yes.
Perfect. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, DST, giving an opportunity to young entrepreneurs and young scientists to explore all over the world with our resources. And thank you for especially Rajendra Prasad sir and giving the chair. And also thank you other participants and colleagues. Today I am going to brief about, in the behalf of my young scientist team, what is the shaping of SEO, STA partnership roadmap, young scientist perspectives, summaries. What are the possible collaborations from our young scientist team? What yesterday Rajendra Prasad sir given idea. Based on that, we developed the things. And now I am going to there are majorly 5 thematic areas. first, I will summarize the what I will if I give the brief about the silent features of our environmental protection, natural resource management, what we observed, what we are want to make the collaboration from our country side to other SCO nations, and other and I also brief about other thematic areas like agriculture and food processing sector, and sustainable energy and energy storage, biotechnology and bioengineering, and combating COVID-19 and emerging pandemic. So first, we'll go to brief about the environmental protection, natural resource man. First thing I observed that Sir told before presentation also, one of the great thing is that addressing the bacterial antibiotic resistance problems in drinking water. And like Kunwan, he described about the worldwide problems of bacterial antibiotic resistance, and encode of between the segments of DNA called antibiotic resistant genes, which are present in both environmental bacteria and pathogen found in the healthcare system. And another one is impact of climate change and human activities on the water resources, especially what are the water resources management of suitable for the development, or what the impact will be changes for the human activities on water resources, and remote sensing of evapotranspiration, soil moisture drought, and water security evaluation for agriculture production. And fourth one is majorly integration of remote sensing data with Parsinimous water model to monitor the groundwater system. Majorly in this, this kind of models are mostly useful for the prediction, uncertainty analysis in the long river basins, which I observed that. Another one is groundwater modeling, different kinds of models in the groundwater, and what is the impact of that water. It will improve our human life activities. And next, interlocking atmosphere and surface and groundwater to hydroclimate modeling, and development of multi-species aquaculture in saline water. It's one of the another important area I observed that, especially integrated study of ecosystem like saline lakes and also ponds, including their biodiversity and environment, ecology, biology of abundant species. And also another majorly in the what saline water include mainly what is the biology of species which will promising for the cultivation, what will improve, because nowadays in especially natural resource management, a dual crop system more attracting stage water along with the cropping system, so all over India and all over the world. Next, development of advanced materials as oil sorbent destructing fertilizers. In this case, and especially new biosorbent based native microorganisms and methods for monitoring the soil condition through enzyme activity by using the enzymes and other oil sorbent materials, which will absorb that will increase the fertility of soil, increase the yield of the crop by changing this. Another one is bioplastic and biodegradable products from agro waste, what I discussed. Majorly now is sir also told that now major issue is the plastic. When you go into the plastic, it will causes human health issues, and it's causing to the not only humans, even animals, sea-based animal, fish. We are consuming that. It will be causes for the carcinogen, toxic cancer. But preventing that by using the natural, especially agriculture sector, because India is the 80% agriculture processing and dependent also. For by using this agriculture waste, it will improve the edible and biodegradable products. This is one of the because nowadays the world lifestyle is changing. Some people very attracting for the different kind of flavors for developing the edible agriculture waste based like single user plastics and vegan leather. Another one is that packaging films, that are most important thing, because if you go everywhere in the world, we are moving to the transportation, majorly packaging. We'll get snacks like kurkure, but major all the kind of paper is not degrading properly. It's containing some polymers, it's not degrade, and it will causes leaches to the water, and the water again you want to reutilize it is very difficult for that all the things. And another thing is our colleagues discovered by water quality and pollutants monitoring to smart and affordable sensor system integrated with IoT, because now sensor is a major leading sector in all the process, all the areas like irrigation, and also in the field of groundwater, and also now food. You see in mechanization of food, with processing of food, every aspect like cleaning, pasteurization, everywhere they use the sensor. We control the give accuracy of the values. For that, we are applying this in this area. Also, is one of the great thing. Especially Pooja discussed environment application, particularly is using the splitting this 2D materials, graphite materials for controlling, and also reagent kits and paper strips, because advanced specimen of the water. Now the food will quickly We will assess the, yes, this is spoiled or not. Nowadays so many strips are coming all over. Same way we can assess the like water quality also by using the less white strips and paper strips. Another one is sensing of selenium, arsenic, lead, iron, other organic pollutant, and the functional of electrodes for hydrogen generation via water splitting, because water majorly we are splitting the water. It will one of the beauty of the water, it will be enhance its properties. And also what are the pollutants we use? By using the advanced system we can degrade it without any releasing the harmful chemicals and that. Next one, use of carbon solvent as an alternative to water in leather manufacturing, because the major problem in leather is reutilization of water, because every step of the processing of leather it will require the lot of chemicals. So instead of using the chemical green solvents, which is adaptable for the nature, one of the great thing in that. Another one is model. So he also described about different types of models to analyze the environmental efficiency index through multi-parameter assessment criteria, and the development of solvent cum reagent model for sustainable fiber processing, a zero discharge approach. So when you final entire process of leather, so humans zero, the water will be without any chemicals, reuse for drinking, reuse for other purpose, like it is a great beauty. Next, water resource management and groundwater modeling, and water quality pollutant through chemosensor, and green chemistry for fiber processing. Then during the process of fiber extraction, generally we will extract fiber by mechanically. If we're extracting the fiber, that much quality we can't get, because we will get a feasible quality, but by using the enzymatically, by using the biodegradable biologically, it will improve the quality, and also it will improve the properties of leather. We can apply for food and agriculture, applying biotechnology, bioengineering and all. And solid waste management, mainly from wealth to waste. Generally now waste is a major issue. We convert that waste into wealth is one of the good advantage for the human systems, and also agriculture system, an ecosystem also. And the aquaculture and seawater, these are the other themes what I observed, the silent futures. Mainly method to analyze the food adulteration. There are nowadays food majorly depend upon the adult, because we need more production, more kind of food is required, but the production is less, so consumption is more. At that time another option is mixing, like adulteration. So for that kind of adulteration, we were the different techniques are finding and moving advanced system on large scale fermentation of industrial scale enzymes. Mainly nowadays 2G ethanol, 3G ethanol still in the laboratory model. We want to move that one to pilot scale and also production scale. Now moving towards that is a great advantage, great learning to the research from that. And also enzyme mediated oligosaccharide extraction from agriculture products, because majorly oligosaccharides and polysaccharides, these are the beauty that we can use in food in agriculture different way, like fertilizers and also in food additives and different kind, this kind of extractions and all used for the different way. That is a more beauty for that. Avoidance of arsenic toxicity in the rice through nanotechnology, zero violent iron, and colorant from bacteria for food and biochemical application. But now natural colors is more important than synthetic colors, because synthetic colors, the people is by using the tag, the natural and organic, they are attracting towards. So by using that naturally we'll produce from by using biological way. Another one more beauty. Next, collaborations and way forward. Mainly how will collaborations will make with the following ways: aquaculture and industrial saline water, and sensor technology for aquaculture and groundwater and surface water, and functional materials for environmental protection, natural resource management. Generally how will improve agriculture waste to wealth. And another large scale production of colorant from bacteria and its application, fiber processing and biodegradable for making. And the development of sensor for restricting the substances, because sensor and IoT application most useful for the application towards the groundwater, water model, and also in other fields also. Combination of leather and agro solid waste for biodegradable product making, and identification of green process and chemicals for manufacturing sector. This is the things. And way forward, that roadmap. Generally, sir, what you told, that one of the good point is that we will project this following areas. Among the areas, you can make the one coordinator, and we will do the brainstorming. And this is this resources we put in front of the brainstorming, and it will success and move for the further collaboration with other countries. What they have, we can learn from them, and we exchange our knowledge with them. And but that certain fundings are required. So mainly identification of thrust area, whatever the 5 areas we identified, and say from among them we can do the coordinator, and also from the coordinator they will again do for the brainstorming. It is more accuracy will come, and after that designing of proposals, and after the exchange of areas, resources, knowledge, what we develop we can exchange with other SCO nations, and another one is value realization. So finally output will come. So because nowadays base research is more towards, and we will how will move further application side of research. General how it will commercialize, how it will go marketing, how will it will useful for young entrepreneurs, because now the major resource of an Indian and mass population countries, all the educated peoples moving towards for the like entrepreneur activity. Instead of moving to doing job, they are very interested to do the business because they know themselves. So that kind of there so many people are approaching any new technologies which is rule the world. It will improve the societal impact, and it will improve for the rural peoples, entrepreneurs. This is the one of the biggest thing for all the things. This is my point of view in front of my all youngsters. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, to have the proceeding part done, may I now request Professor P. Rajendra Prasad, sir, to kindly give his remarks.
Yeah, I think Anjanelu, then Satish, all of you have really done a very good job. First of all, I think all the presentations which were made in the session were extremely good and highly focused. That's really most important. And most of them are application oriented. And then I think most of the issues are, you see, it's we always talk about science for society, and then that's being achieved in all these presentations. So this particular presentation made by this small group is really good. I think though they have discussed about all the points, the focus on which they would like to do is on aquaculture, then on the agricultural aspects of quality treatment, plus the groundwater modeling concepts and the integrated water quality monitoring. And I think these 4 areas, 5 areas selected by them are really good. And then I think they would have a very long fetching advantages between these SCO member states. So I think, and what Anjanelu was suggesting, and maybe other colleagues are also suggesting, it's a really good idea that as a part of this program, I think we should have a couple of brainstorming sessions where the enough information should be circulated among all these SCO nations, and make sure that the people come up with clear-cut ideas for discussion. And that should be the stage where real networking can take place, and then I think they can really start writing the a good proposal for that. I think when the proposals come, maybe we request Dr. Arvind Kumar from DST. I think when the call comes, I think this is a concept which we need to keep in mind and give enough provision for these people to have some interaction before that. With all said and done, though it's the virtual meeting went on extremely well, far beyond anybody's expectations, but still a physical meeting would still have an edge on this, and it will solve some of the minor or intrinsic things that could have been done in a much better way. So I think with this, I once again congratulate all the people who have really participated, and thank Dr. Arvind Kumar, Dr. Varshni, and then my colleagues, you see, Dr. Venkat Mohan, and especially Dr. Manmohanji. They have really done a great job, along with the youngsters. You see, the 3 youngsters who have been continuously working, Dr. Pinjari, Dr. Ansel Gar, then Dr. Aman Agarwal. So they have really done a great job. And I think once again, I thank all the people who are responsible for this, and congratulate the participants who have done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, yes, I think now it's time for the lunch break. We'll be back at 2:45 Indian Standard Time to start the valedictory program and awards ceremony. So that's a much awaited thing, of course. So I would like to request all the participants to kindly join us for that session as well. So yes, let's meet up sharp at 2:45 IST. Thank you so much.